Hey everybody, good morning. Normally it's Friday night that we're live, and it's Sunday morning, really early. Actually, I've been out here for quite some time. This is going to be extremely big. This is going to be, I would say, this is going to be IFT 5. This will be the most important of all of them. So it's really exciting. This is exciting. This is going to be the number one thing that we're looking for today is, of course, the chopstick catch, right? I just, when you see this stuff happen, it's just amazing to me. I've seen it in demo, and it's unbelievable that they can do this. So let's just hope all goes well and we can actually see that happen. There's going to be other things, obviously, that happen today that they need to make sure are working. And that's, of course, they need to demonstrate that they can on-orbit transfer fuel like they did before. They also are going to most likely test out the whole deployment of satellites. They probably will not put a satellite, maybe not even an object in space, but they will test the systems involved over there. That's very important. They're going to be testing that water deluge system. I'm sure a ton of environmentalists will be on board there watching to make sure everything is going well and there's no pollutants in the water. And they're also going to, of course, test the sonic boom issue. Is sonic boom a problem or is it not? That's always a thing for the environmental people. That's, a matter of fact, one of the reasons why they delayed it, or they were going to delay it to the end of November. And instead, it's happening today. So who got their butts eaten to get it to happen today? That's what I want to know. And how did it happen? Was it NASA? Was it the DOD, the Department of Defense? Was it just the government in general? Who did it? Because if it was for the FAA, they would still be waiting until the end of November to be able to launch this thing. So really, this is very, very important. Also, the lunar data, right? Any type of information that they can get for NASA, for the Artemis mission, that is going to be very important. Obviously, being able to transfer fuel, getting to the location where they need to be able to get to, so on and so forth. Eventually, they're going to have to land one of these starships on the moon remotely. And eventually, when that does happen, then we can look into a moon landing for the first time. They're looking at 2026 for a moon landing. That would be pretty cool, guys. So, anyways, that's my spiel for this morning. Supposedly, they're going to be going live at 7:45 my time, 7:35. So about 10 minutes time. So we want to say hello to everybody. Any kind of questions you have, like I always say, put a Q in the chat or at JCristina. It just makes it super simple for me to be able to find those questions and kind of hone in on them. I go through a lot of the comments anyways, but sometimes it gets to be a lot of people, and then it's hard to go through them. The last time we had, I think it was like 300, 400, 500 people on with us. So who knows how many we get this time? However many it is. But it sometimes gets a little bit crazy. So anyways, who do we got here? We have William. How are you doing? Peter is here. How are you doing, Peter? We still don't know where the other Peter is, do we? I sent him over. A lot of you guys were asking me on Friday, how's Peter? The moderator. One of the union members, right? He is the moderator of this this entire thing. He's been doing it for many, many, many months. But he was in the hospital, and he did come online after being in the hospital for like maybe 20 minutes. But then we haven't heard from him, and it's been a couple of weeks. So I sent him out an email again on Friday to see how he's doing. There's a lot of you guys want to know. So we will see what's going on over there with Peter. Hopefully he writes me today, but we'll let you know. Who else do we have here? We got, hi all. I like fireworks. I like that. We have No One. We have Dutch Linux. Who else we have? Shannon. How are you doing? Shannon, you're up early, I see. Thank you for being here. As always, all of your support, everything you do. Let's see here. Who else do we have? We have Charles Lee. We have Ian. How you doing? Janice West, Path to Maine. Who else? John Wolf is here. How you doing, John? Josh is here. Let's see. Glenn, Dave H, Alpha Century. So a lot of you guys are here already. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Once again, we're here a little bit early. They're going to go live in about about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll take a look to see what's going on over there during the actual event. Let's say when it's happening, you're going to see more of a full screen, something like this. So don't think you're just going to see my head. We'll go, full screen with what's going on. I'll probably leave the chat up there. Maybe I'll remove it if it's too obstructive. And I'll leave me up there, but in a small form. So just so you guys know, that's what it'll look like once we actually go live, so to speak, with this. So a couple of things. Let me just go and take a look and see if there's any questions in here. Let's see. Shannon, you set up 2 alarms. Man, it's 4 a.m. over there. Yeah. The other coast, it is an early one. It is early. Let's see. Dutch, I love this. Dutch Linux says, Elon does shit better than NASA has ever done, and NASA is jealous about it. And so is the FAA. Go Starship. Go Elon. Yes. I've always said this, right, from the very beginning. I said what NASA takes 10 years to do, SpaceX, Starlink, SpaceX, Elon will do it in 10 months. So it's just it's a full magnitude, just difference. It's just you can't even compare it. And yeah, that's probably why they are jealous about it, because they are having to rely on Elon for just about everything. I mean, the DoD is relying on them for their Space Force. You have a lot of government that's relying on them. There's a lot of reliance on Elon, and they don't like it. They want other people and different people that they can control. With Elon, you really don't really control this guy. He kind of does what he does, and you either like it a lot or you hate it. There's a lot of polarizing people out there. I personally love what he does. So for me, I think it's great. The more the merrier. When he tells people to F off, in the middle of a news conference, and the people that he's telling to F off is the CEO of Disney, that makes me feel good. That means there's someone out there that actually sees what's going on and can kind of speak their mind and don't have to worry about being canceled. Right? This is the kind of stuff that happens. Let's see, 7:40, 7:39, so about 6 minutes, and we will jump over there. If anyone sees that SpaceX is broadcasting sooner, let me know, and I'll jump over. Let me see. No one says I could maybe do pink on my PC. Yeah, you could do it. Do it. Drum roll. Love it. Good morning from Texas. That's Janice. How are you? Question. If there's a problem this time, how long until the next launch? Yeah, so we don't really know. The problem that I see with this is they are looking, when I say they, it's the three, it's the FCC, the FAA, Fish and Wildlife. If they get wind of any issue, they just magnify it, right? So, and when they do magnify, they just push things back further and further and further. The reason why this launch was not supposed to happen today, it was supposed to happen like at the end of November sometime, is because of regulatory problems, right? The FAA, and I think they finalized the issue with sonic booms and water deluge. So I mean, of course you're going to have a sonic boom. I mean, you have a rocket that's coming back. If you have a rocket coming by, you have you're We sometimes go to see an air and sea show. When you see a plane come by because they're demonstrating speeds or whatnot, as soon as they are at Mach 1, you're going to hear the boom. That's just how it is. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then they were complaining about the water somehow contaminating everything. And then Elon's like, I don't know what the hell these people are talking about. The water is drinking water. You could actually go and drink the water. It's not even like coolant water, where it's mixed with chemicals to cool things even better than just plain water does. It's simply drinking water, potable water. I mean, are you kidding me? What are you polluting? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And this is the kind of shit. And I think that that's why someone, pushed the FAA and said, listen, enough of this BS, all right? Matter of fact, I'm pulling up the BS meter. Enough of this BS. We can't deal with this anymore. You just need to let this thing go. We need to advance. We need Artemis to happen, right? That's NASA's concern. Are we going to be able to get to the moon in time? When I say in time, I mean before the Chinese do. It's a very big thing for them. It's the same thing that happened in 1969 when JFK, he said, listen, it's not easy to get to the moon. It's hard, but we're going to do it. And the reason why he wanted to do it is he wanted to get there before the Russians, right? So it just shows, supremacy, right? It shows superiority, even though that's not really necessarily the case. But still, it does give a view that, listen, they did it first, or they're doing it again. Some people out there said that, we never landed on the moon, and, the flag that we see and all the rest of stuff, that's just all fake. And it was green screened or blue screen back then or whatever. So, however you want to look at it. First time or second time to the moon, man to the moon, supposedly in 2026 is when it's going to happen. All right, so what does this say? 42. Let me go over there and see if it is rolling as of yet. Let's see, SpaceX, no, still says 7:45. That's all right. We will leave it. Anyways, let's go back through some of these. Good morning. This is from the Path of Maine. Good morning to you. Been a while since I watched yourself. Glad to see that you're streaming. Another historic launch. Yes, this is going to be historic. This is going to be a big one. The idea that they can actually catch this thing with those, as I call them, the salad tongs, or what they call them, the chopsticks or Mechazilla, that just alone is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So let's just hope that it happens. God forbid, they try catching it and the damn thing blows up and messes up the pad. That's going to really push things back a little bit. They have a secondary pad that's currently being built that's not done yet, so it won't be that long, but still, we don't want to see that happen because, once again, those three-letter organizations, those regulatory bodies, they will lose their shit and they will definitely push everything back. So this time, instead of it only being automated to come back to Earth and land, they added to the mix a human. So there is going to be someone at the center saying, okay, all of the computer says that everything is perfect. Everything is nominal, as they would call it, right? Everything is great, but still that human there has to say, yes, go ahead. And then, of course, the computers will land it. So that's really good because then you have an extra something in the mix. You're not just only relying on the computers because sometimes we are smarter than computers. Not always, but it does happen. So this is good because they have to give the go-ahead. Wow. Look, I just saw that Shannon just gifted 50 memberships. So if you are one of the people, one of the 50 that received a free membership, say thank you to Shannon. That's just absolutely amazing. And Peter also has the one membership also gifted. Thank you for that, Peter. Really do appreciate that. All of the super chats, all of those gifted memberships, all that is just so helpful. I can't even tell you. All of these people, I'm not going to read all of them. There's a a lot. There's 51 of you. If you received a free membership, once again, say thank you to Shannon or to Peter from wherever you received it. Okay, that would be really appreciated. Let's see, anything else in here? Question. Let's see. This is from Glenn. How did your Starlink signal hold up during the storm? So, yeah, I have Starlink, the version 2, the one that has the fully articulating top, the head. And I've had it for 48 months now. And it's gone through a couple of storms. Tornado. It went through this hurricane. This hurricane, we probably got gusts of about 60 to 75 miles per hour, and it held up perfectly. As a matter of fact, we didn't even lose signal, which is even more crazy. We were like good the whole time because we were getting that spotty, like the bad weather would come in and then go out. I think we might have lost it maybe a couple of times, but majority of the time that I was actually online, we had it. So that was really good. That's really good. And that is with the version 2 or the generation 2. The latest and greatest generations are supposedly even better when it comes to rain fade. So that's good. Great question. Thank you for that, Glenn. Let's see. Good morning to everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see here. If you're new, put an emoji down below in the chat, or just say hello so we can recognize you. Once again, as it starts getting kind of busy, I might not be able to get in here as often, especially when the whole thing starts, but I'm going to try. And then once it does launch, just like last time, I'm going to kind of shut up a bit, and this way you can kind of experience the entire thing. I might put a little commentary in here and there, but I'm going to leave it pretty dead air for me so that you can listen to what is going on. The one thing that I need to remember to do that I didn't do last time is before they went live, they played some god-awful elevator music. And that elevator music that they played ended up demonetizing the entire live event, okay? So we don't want to demonetize the event. That would be kind of stupid, right? So I will probably, during like the beginning, if there's any music playing, I'm going to mute that out completely because we don't want that. That was just, and it was the worst. If it was like some, AAA music, that'd be one thing, but it was the worst elevator music known to man, and we were demonetized. So because it was playing in the background. Let's see. Let's see. Any other questions? Put them in here. Eric, how are you doing, Eric? Stormy Magic, I guess. Daniel, how are you? Jim is here. Yeah, Peter says that we hope that Peter Madsen, is okay. So I will definitely let you know about that, Peter, how Peter is doing. Josh, how you doing? Jim, who else we got here? Who else? Wombat says Boomer. Cranky old man says 1969 Australia school. Children were sent home to watch the moon. Yep, I know. It was a big thing. I was born when we landed on the moon, which is kind of interesting. So let's see, 747. So let me go ahead and hit watch and see if this comes up. Maybe, maybe not. We will see in just a second. I'll get rid of the bars up the top and all that stuff. Still black screened, so obviously it's not there as of yet. I don't believe. Let's see. Nope. Let's see. It says starting 7:35. Now it says 7:45. It is 7:49. It still says starting at 7:45. So they are delayed. It is what it is. I'll just leave it. I'll leave that on there for right now. I could just refresh this page and see what ends up happening with it. This will probably push us back over to X, and we'll probably watch it on X anyways, because I believe that's where they're going to push it out instead of on YouTube like they did at the very beginning. Let's see. Yes, thank you very much, Peter, for that. Put a Q before your question or at JCristina. It'll be a lot easier for me to see any kind of questions that pop up. If you are new or old, put your name in there. Put a little emoji. Put a how you doing or something. Let's see. Demolin77, how are you doing? So they're finishing their coffee. Yeah, they need a big pot of coffee for this one. This is going to, maybe they actually shouldn't have any coffee. This is going to be a nail biter for sure. I think that the launch itself is going to go over quite well. I think we're going to see okay. So there's a couple of things that are really important that's going on here. Is number one, of course, we want to see that the salad tong catch. But what a lot of people aren't talking about, and they really should be, is that SpaceX ended up replacing the entire heat shielding system. That's every single tile. And when they took all the tile off, right, to replace it, they also added like an underlayment, let's say, another thick coat below it, a heat shielding, so that if one of those tiles were to fall off, it's not going to burn through the metal. It's going to hit that secondary heat shielding. So this is, quite new. This is going to be the first launch with this new heat shielding on it. So how does that fare? Because if that heat shielding doesn't hold up, or we start seeing things popping off or fins burning like last time, well, that's not going to end up happening. We're not going to see that landing. So that heat shielding, I think, is mission critical because it is brand new. Whereas with the other 4 flights, they use the same shield tiles. So I think that's kind of interesting. There was a fun fact that I saw here, which I thought was interesting. There's 18,000 heat shield tiles on this thing. 18,000. So these people not only had to put that underlayment or that coating or whatever they did underneath, but they also had to go and reinstall 18,000 of these tiles, these ceramic tiles. They're like dish. This is literally like a dish. That's it. A thick dish, ceramic dish, which is really amazing that they don't just blow up and they can take so much heat. It's like the internals of a kiln, right? So I also found this was interesting. The unit, the actual Starship, is 120 metric tons, or let's say 250,000 pounds, right around there for standard. And when it's fully fueled, it goes from that 120 metric tons to 1,400 metric tons. 1,400. That's how much fuel, or it comes to 3.1 million pounds. Talking about how much thrust you need out of those 33 Raptor engines for it to happen. You need a lot, right? You need a lot. So I thought that was amazing. And that's one of the things I really do believe that they need to eventually figure out a way to reduce the amount of propellant needed to break free of Earth's pull, let's call it, gravity, as well as going through the atmospheric drag, right? A means of doing that. How, I really don't know. But I think that eventually we're going to see a new propulsion system that will mitigate this. As it is, what they're trying to do is put on orbit I guess you would call it a gas station, which is pretty cool. So what they'll do is they will have a Starship on orbit sitting there in LEO that will allow other starships to pull up and then refuel and then take off. So the beauty of that is that to get to the moon really doesn't take a lot of fuel once you're in orbit, right? Because there's little drag, there's almost no gravity, right? So there you don't have much of anything. So if you refill that thing, you're going to be almost full when you land on the moon. That is a lot of propellant that you can have on the moon as, once again, another docking station or another fuel station. So to be able to have fuel on orbit and then fuel on the moon is really going to help a lot. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. They're going to fly out to that or dock with that fuel station, which will be another Starship, or probably be larger than a standard Starship, but who knows? We'll see how that goes. But they'll just dock, they'll refill it, come back, then they'll fly off again. So it'll be like this, once again, refueling of a fuel station, which I think is pretty cool. It makes sense, right? The same thing holds true with going to Mars. They will probably go to the fuel station, then they'll go to the moon, and then from the moon they'll launch to Mars, fully fueled. Pretty cool. Shannon, thank you so much for the super chat. It's official purple hair super chat. Yes. Go get Fab out of bed. I know. You know what? I did tell her. I said, tomorrow morning's going to be an early one. Do you want to come on with me? She's like, I can't come on. It's Sunday. I have to go to work on Monday. I want to sleep in. I'm like, all right. So you're not going to see her today. I don't know. Maybe she'll get into the chat in a little bit. Probably not. I don't know. But yeah, thumbs up, pink poop emojis, do all the things. Really do appreciate everything you do, Shannon. Thank you. Thank you so much. What's going on with these people? Anything new? Do we have anything? Let's see. Yes, no? No? Oh, we do. So, there it is. Watch on X. So let's go and bring that over to X. See if we can go full screen with that. I am going to, let's see if we can do it. We can. All right.
Test flights, we want to learn as much as possible, and views of Starship during all phases of flight help us to keep improving the vehicle for recovery and reuse.
I'm going to lower her volume a little bit.
Flying regularly,
let me know if that's pretty good for you guys.
To space,
I don't want it to be too
land
loud.
humans on the moon again after more than half a century, and ultimately fly people further into space than ever before.
Excellent.
And getting there will require us to rapidly iterate and fly often, which is why we're working so hard to scale operations at Starbase.
Yeah, the faster that we learn now, the faster we can improve and evolve Starship to achieve reliable flights and rapid reusability. We've been designing this vehicle from day one to realize a vision of having an entire city of people on Mars, something we know will take launching millions of pounds of cargo and equipment into space spread across thousands of flights. This future will require many Starships that can fly again and again, and today's flight is a critical step on that path.
It is.
So buckle up your seatbelts, because here we go. The moon and Mars are not nearly as far in the future as you may think. In fact, we're planning to send Starships to Mars as soon as 2026.
You might be familiar with the Starlink logo, and there you could see it on your screen. It's an iconic representation of the Mars Transfer Orbit, also called the Home and Transfer Orbit. This is how fundamental Mars is to SpaceX. This transfer window, or a time when the Earth and Mars are the closest to each other, opens every 26 months and is only open for about 2 to 3 months at a time for a vehicle with Starship's power. And it just so happens that the next Mars transfer window opens in 2 years towards the end of 2026.
Yeah, lining up a launch to Mars is similar to how we launched to the International Space Station, where we time launches to match the station's orbit. If we didn't do this, we'd need more propellant and more time to get there.
Exactly. So the first opportunity that we have to fly Starships to Mars, we plan on doing it. These first flights to Mars will be uncrewed and will test the reliability of landing intact. If those landings go well, the first crewed flights will follow soon after.
So it's safe to say it's all happening, and flights like today's are what's going to get us there. Not only have we made several improvements to the Starship flying today based on what we've learned from our last flight, including extensive upgrades to Starship's hardware and software, we've also made improvements to the launch tower and catch mechanisms.
And if you've noticed in some of the live views this morning, our
Mechazilla.
teams have completed stacking the second launch tower, which will be coming online next year. Having 2 operational launch towers paired with ships and boosters rolling off the line in our new Star Factory will allow us to increase our flight cadence and test even more rapidly. And just a few miles away from the 2 towers, things are moving really fast at the heart of Starbase. Star Factory is rapidly coming online, with production teams already using the space as construction continues. The 1 million square foot Star Factory brings many parts of the manufacturing process under one roof for the first time, enabling moving as much system integration work as possible earlier in the build process, with the goal of eventually producing hundreds of Starships a year.
That's crazy. It's such an impressive building. So, for example, teams can assemble an entire nose cone structure of a ship into a single piece and work on its internal systems all in one place. So if you're working on Starship and you have a question about the steps that you're working that happen before or after yours, instead of having to leave the building and go and find the person or the team with the answer or waste time sending an email and waiting for their response, odds are you're right next to that person or team, and now you're working right alongside them, so you don't have to wait for a response.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it a lot more efficient and faster to communicate. So not only are we rapidly iterating on these spacecraft themselves, but we're also innovating the way that they're made.
It's almost too much to keep up with.
We're also posting updates on our account on X. If you can't keep up, that'll help you. So if you don't already, make sure that you follow us at SpaceX on X. And I have a feeling it's going to get pretty busy.
Oh, that is definitely an understatement.
And it's definitely going to be very exciting today. So with that, let's meet today's Starship on the pad. Starship features two major parts, the ship, which has 6 Raptor engines, and the Super Heavy booster, which has 33 Raptor engines. The current iteration of Starship is essentially an experimental vehicle flying.
I'm going to turn her back just a little bit, and then we'll turn her up again in just a couple of minutes. I just want to get to a couple of you guys. This is interesting because they speak about that other pad, and I think that that's very mission critical. Because, like I said before, if for some reason something happens with this pad, because the Mechazilla arms doesn't catch it right and it ends up falling and blowing up the whole place, well, they're going to have that other pad. It's under construction, but we just don't know how long it's going to take for them to get it done. I would venture to say if something happens to this pad, they will get that thing done pretty quickly, just like everything else that SpaceX has been doing extremely rapidly, unlike NASA, right? So yeah, this is, let me just go and see if there's anyone else in here. Any kind of questions? Once again, put a Q before your question or at JCristina. That makes it very easy. Yes, Demolin says NASA uses Linux, Red Hat, and SUSE. I didn't even know that. I would imagine they would use some form of Linux or Unix for the majority of their work. They're not going to use Windows. Could you imagine during a launch you end up with like a blue screen of death or something? With Billy the Kid's Windows garbage? Yeah, that would be a problem. That would be a big problem. Let's go back to listening to what she's talking about here.
Vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable a precision landing.
To reach full reusability, ship must survive entry not just once, but over and over again. It took the teams at SpaceX about 3 years to develop the heat shield on Starship, and development for improvements is still ongoing. The ship's heat shield is composed of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles designed to insulate the vehicle during atmospheric entry, where temperatures can be as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. And naturally, the tiles are designed for rapid reuse with no refurbishment between flights. As we mentioned earlier, today's Starship features a completely reworked heat shield with stronger tiles and a secondary protective layer. This promises to increase our chances of Starship making it through a controlled re-entry and hopefully a little more intact this time around. And in between our first and second stages is our hot stage, which we last saw in action on flights 2, 3, and 4. Speaking of, let's take a trip back in time and talk about that last flight. On June 6th, Starship successfully lifted off at 7:50 a.m. Central Time from Starbase, Texas, cleared the launch tower, and went on to accomplish several major milestones and firsts. As you can see there, Super Heavy booster lifted off successfully and completed a full duration ascent burn. I love the view of the sound waves there. Following separation, Super Heavy booster successfully completed its flip maneuver, boost back burn as well to send it toward the splashdown zone, and it also jettisoned the hot stage adapter, as you can see there. We don't have to jettison that adapter in future iterations because it'll be a different design. Now,
yeah, that is pretty interesting. She's talking about the different designs. So that little adapter is not going to be needed, or it's going to be a lot smaller, and it's going to be integrated into the unit itself. So you don't have to lose it each and every time. So that's kind of cool.
It was so incredible to see that booster coming down, ending its ending its flight with a soft splashdown 7 minutes and 24 seconds into the flight, and the crowd went wild.
That was the biggest thing that happened on the last flight, besides the little flaps almost breaking off, ripping off, or burning off, is that the Super Heavy landed within centimeters of where it's supposed to land, in comparison to the Starship that did soft land, but it landed like a mile off, right? It was way off. So by seeing that they were able to get Super Heavy to land exactly where they needed it to land, said to them, listen, let's go ahead and try to get this thing to actually grab it. Once again, within a centimeter is where it came down. That's important. So going forward with this landing, if Starship could actually land also one couple of centimeters off, let's say, chances are on the next launch, they might actually try to catch the Starship 2, especially if they have the 2 pads. They can have the one Super Heavy launch, actually get caught on one pad, and then they can have the Starship being caught on the other. So we'll see what ends up happening with this, but that's something that we need to look out for today, is how close that Starship actually lands to the point where it's supposed to land, right? Very, very important. Secondary important too, obviously, the Mechazilla actually working and catching Super Heavy. So
Raptor engines and lift off from Starbase. A little more than 2.5 minutes into flight, the Super Heavy booster will separate from the ship in a hot stage separation. After that separation, the booster will perform a flip maneuver followed by a boost back burn. And about 2 seconds after that burn ends, we'll jettison the booster's hot stage. As it heads back towards the ground, the booster will either attempt a landing, will have a landing burn, but then will either return to the tower or splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico.
We got to bring
Meanwhile,
that
the
on
ship's
board,
engines
right?
will remain lit for just under 6 minutes during its ascent phase before shutting down for the coast. The ship will coast for about 40 minutes or so, reaching a peak altitude of about 213 kilometers.
I refueled it, guys.
After that coast phase, the ship
it.
will be attempting a controlled
Let's
re-entry,
see.
including a flip maneuver and landing burn, like we saw on Flight 4, just before splashing down in the Indian Ocean.
I love this
thing. We
thing.
say attempting because, again, this is just a test and nothing is guaranteed.
Except excitement.
Well, of course there is that. Now, both the booster and ship have to contend with some extreme conditions on re-entry, which is where those heat shield tiles will be put to the test.
For this flight test, we do not expect to recover any hardware from the ship. With the exception of Falcon, this is no different than what happens to most rockets flying today that are expended, meaning that they fall into the ocean after completing their mission. Eventually, we will return and reuse Super Heavy boosters and Starships as we do today with Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy boosters. And in fact, we've landed Falcon boosters 352 times to date.
Oh, man, I hear you say that number, and that is just wild. I still remember the night, or at least most of the night.
I know a lot of you guys have asked me, why don't they land and launch in the ocean? And it's a pretty good question. It is a good question, and it really depends on how they want to do this and how big of that landing drone has to be. Because remember, a Falcon 9 is extremely small in comparison to this mammoth. And even on its dry weight of being, 120 metric tons, that's a lot of weight to be able to land on a drone ship. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, the Chinese have been working on landing their rockets, but once again, those rockets are the equivalent to a Falcon 9, nothing that heavy. So I think that's what has a lot to do with why they're not launching from the ocean. Now, they could build a pad out in the middle of the ocean. They can do that. But I just don't think that they will.
How's it going, Dan?
It's going great, Jesse. Welcome back to Starbase, everybody. It's been far too long. Little change of scenery this time. Right behind me is the Launch Control Center, where our flight controllers are counting down to our liftoff at 7:25 a.m. Central. We are a little bit later in our window. The main reason is we're working to clear out the range. Have not been tracking any technical issues so far to preclude that
That's
launch.
good. No technical
so
issues. I
7:25
like it.
a.m. Central, 12:25 UTC is what we're marching down to. As you can see, we're actively loading propellants onboard Super Heavy and Starship. Liquid methane for your fuel, liquid oxygen for the oxidizer. Prop load on the ship started at about T-minus 49 minutes, booster at T-minus 40 minutes. We're going to keep loading propellants on those vehicles right down to the wire. Ship will close out at about 3 minutes and 20 seconds before T0, and then booster just about 30 seconds later. Now, with our startup sequence, it's going to look very similar to what you saw on Flight 4. We already tested it with this booster and its static fire. We're going to see the Raptors start to make fire at about T-minus 3 seconds, and then we'll start them up in 3 different banks. The first inner 13 will fire, and then about a second later, 15 of the outer ring engines, and then about 0.8 of a second after that, those final 5. Another reminder, if we need to hold, we have a built-in spot at T-minus 40 seconds. We can hold for stuff like if we need to finish clearing the range or if any other technical issues pop up, just kind of in the last second. But if there's nothing holding us back, we're going to go right past that and go down to 0. So, I mean, as of right now, we're just under 14 minutes away from liftoff, not working any technical issues. Range is expected to clear. We're just clearing out a few more boats. And as you can see, the weather is perfect. We had 100% go for launch from the weather officer, so that was pretty unprecedented and something
Sweet.
we really like to hear. If we're not able to go today, since we are loading prop, it would likely be about 48 hours before our next attempt. But good thing we're going to launch today. Really looking forward to being able to turn around and see it this time. Counting down to 7:25 a.m. Central, and I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. I'll send it back to you in Hawthorne.
Yeah, I think the weather is perfect there. I just don't know why they do not have the waters cleared. U.S. Coast Guard has been working on that for a couple of days. I reported on that, I think, on Friday or something. So that's kind of weird. I don't know what's going on with that. There should be no issue there. Shannon, thank you for the super chat. Says, I was thinking they could make a gigantic mesh net and catch them. Yeah, just almost like the fighter pilots, right? When they come in and they have a problem, they have this big, massive net, right, and just catch the damn thing. That would be interesting, especially with those weights. I don't even know. I don't think it would be possible, but it'd be cool for them to do it. See how quick that thing would rip. Let's see. Let me see what the launch plan looks like. T-minus 19. Yep. So at 1940, T-minus 1940 is when they do the chill down. So the cryo, everything drops. And T-minus 320 is when everything's supposedly be full, 100% full. And then the boosters by T-minus 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So we'll probably hear that go, no go, what is it, T-minus 30, and they do the T-minus 30 seconds, they do the hold as they normally would do if they need to, or 1 minute, they do a hold, 2 minute hold. It just depends on how things are kind of transpiring, but I would guess this thing is going to happen today. And the reason being is everything looks really, really good. Weather looks really good. They're saying that they're seeing no issues at all besides clearing out some people in the ocean that shouldn't be there. But that's really about it. So I think what ends up happening here is everything goes nominally, and the problem that I see, if there will be any problem, and that will be with the catch. But as good as they are, and since it actually landed within centimeters, it will probably work. I think that it will get to where it needs to be, and it's going to be up to the salad tongs or chopsticks or Mechazilla to actually close on it properly and hold it. I think it'll be able to get there on its own accord. So we'll see what ends up happening. Really exciting, though.
Now, if we do make it to a catch attempt today, Super Heavy may generate a sonic boom upon its return.
Oh no,
and
sonic boom.
That's basically a brief thunder-like noise that we hear when an aircraft or other object travels faster than the speed of sound. Anyone that has been in the area for a Falcon 9 land landing in Florida or California, or even some space shuttle landings, may have heard one of these.
Generally, the only impact in those surrounding areas of a sonic boom is the brief noise, with variables like weather and distance impacting if or how the sonic boom is heard. Here's a brief look at how these sonic booms look and sound on Falcon.
I know a lot of people will be excited when they hear the sonic boom.
And these are going to provide quite a show because you're going to hear those sonic booms.
Booster landing like deployed.
Crazy. So two cracks, like gunfire. There's your sonic boom. They've been complaining about this all week. The sonic booms. Like, I don't know, it's gonna hurt something or someone. You know, I did some research on this, and I researched this and found out that the closest home to Starbase, any portion of Starbase, is 2 miles. And the majority of the homes in those areas are vacant because they've already been bought out or whatever. So there's not really a lot of people within miles of this thing. So,
as our test flights continue, we plan to demonstrate ship-to-ship propellant transfer, which will be important in preparation for Starship taking astronauts to the moon as part of NASA's Artemis program. SpaceX will perform one uncrewed demonstration flight before NASA's Artemis 3 mission, which will be the first human surface expedition since 1972. Also, in preparation for missions to the moon and Mars, we're gaining tons of knowledge from our human spaceflight missions, including free flyer flights like our recent commercial astronaut mission Polaris Dawn.
Polaris Dawn was the first of up to 3 missions in the Polaris program, which is demonstrating new technologies, conducting extensive research, and will culminate in a flight of Starship with humans on board.
After nearly 5 days in orbit, Dragon and the 4-person Polaris Dawn crew safely splashed down on September 15th off the coast of Florida, completing the first human spaceflight mission of the Polaris program. The Polaris Dawn crew performed some incredible firsts during their mission. Dragon and the crew reached 1,408.1 kilometers, the highest Earth orbit ever flown, and the farthest humans have been from our planet since the Apollo program.
The crew also performed the first ever commercial EVA, or extravehicular activity. And as you can see there, they were wearing the new EVA suits that we developed here in-house.
Those are pretty cool.
It was an incredible moment to see Jared and then later Sarah emerge and perform this EVA with Earth behind. Now, in addition to this incredible spacewalk, they also conducted about 36 research studies.
It's pretty interesting, right? How those suits are so much smaller than what we saw with like moon landing, than all the old suits. Even the suits that we saw with the space shuttle, they were big, bulky, they couldn't move at all. These are like, I don't know, like little jogging pants or something, and a little helmet. It's just crazy how they've progressed, how they've advanced. SpaceX is doing an amazing job, really.
Thanks, Kate. So yeah, we're right at about 7 minutes away from launch. The main thing we are still working is that range clear. Again, we have to make sure boats, airspace, everything is cleared out of the way for our ascent corridor, basically the Gulf of Mexico, where we're launching through before we can actually launch. And so we're working on clearing out just a few more boats. We do have a window, remember. So if we end up holding at like a T-minus 40 seconds, we can hold for several minutes, allow those boats to get out of the way, and then we can launch. Our window is from 7 to 7:30 Central, so we don't have a huge amount of time today, but we do have some margin if we need to work with it to still get off the ground today. For now, though, we're coming up on finishing prop load on both vehicles. Header tanks are pretty much topped out on the ship. Those are going to be used for its landing burn. And again, we're going to be closing out all of the prop load at about T-minus 3 minutes, 20 seconds for the ship, and then just 30 seconds later for booster. One kind of cool thing to talk about, so the folks in launch control behind me, after liftoff, they're going to have some pretty special tasks today if we're going to go through with the catch. They're going to be doing some really detailed inspections just visually of all of the different tower systems, a lot of those things that we upgraded, just to make sure that we are in the right posture to actually proceed with the catch. So they'll be working kind of fast and furious behind the scenes to inform the flight director's manual command to send the booster back. So if we hear that command being sent, that's going to be just the roof's going to come off. That's going to be a really exciting moment. So otherwise, if we don't go today, as you guys talked about, there is a chance, and if we don't send the booster back, we'll do a landing burn and a splashdown in the Gulf. And then that's just another landing burn to gather more data, learn more lessons from, and then we'll come back and try to catch
Alex says, can they use a giant parachute? And yes, they could, actually. They could use a parachute to bring these things back. But the problem with that is not only would it have to be absolutely mega, it would have to be giant. The problem is they'd still be landing in the ocean. And once something goes into the sea with all the salt water, it's pretty much useless, okay? And they scrap it no matter what. So the idea here is they're going to catch the thing, right, on land and then be able to, once again, rapid reuse it, refuel it, check the tiles, check the underlayments, check everything, make sure everything is still good, and then be able to launch within hours or maybe a day, which is just unbelievable. Whereas, for example, with NASA and with the space shuttle, for example, space shuttle, it would take 6 to 8 months for them to launch another space shuttle. And the reason being is all of those heat tiles had to be replaced because a ton of them would fall off. They would have to check every single one of them to make sure everything is good. It took forever. With this, they're trying that rapid reusability, trying to create something just like with the Falcon 9. The Falcon 9, the booster lands on the back of a ship, the drone ship. The drone ship brings it to port, and they can turn it around within days and have that thing launch another set of 20, 25 Starlink satellites. That is amazing if you think about it. And that's why they are different than every other provider of space transportation out there, because they have that rapid reusability with the Falcon 9. They're trying to do the exact same thing here now with this. So very interesting.
Providing free service through the end of the year to support recovery efforts. The Starlink team also worked with T-Mobile to activate our direct-to-cell satellites to provide basic texting on T-Mobile and emergency alerts for all phones and carriers of those in affected areas.
That's very important. You see what she said, how they not only are giving the Starlink free, let's say, for the rest of the year for the damaged areas, but they also opened up DTC, which is direct to cell. And I tested it on the JC Live show on Friday night, and it worked because I'm in a hurricane struck area, right? So I am in Palm Beach, and Palm Beach here actually has the service activated. So I was able to shut everything off on my phone and still be able to send Fabiola, that was sitting next to me, a text, and it worked. So amazing, absolutely amazing, and it is working. I'm glad that they ended up getting the FCC to allow them to go forward with DTC service for all of the hurricane impacted people. So that's really quite good.
Like we might not be. So we are just a little over 2 minutes away. So a couple more things going to be happening. We did just close out our propellant load on the ship and the booster. So 10 million pounds of propellant on that vehicle on the pad here at Starbase.
10 million pounds.
Getting ready to go. We're going to start clearing out all of the lines that are basically pushing all of that propellant to the vehicles. Those get cleaned out or cleared out on the ground before we lift off. We're doing some final checks on the vehicle, the thrust vector control that we're going to use to steer it, as well as the guidance system doing its final alignment, just a lot of our final checkouts. But we are starting to hear that it looks like the range is going to be clear at our liftoff time of 7:25 a.m. Central, 12:25 UTC. So that puts us 1 minute, 20 seconds away from launch. Still not tracking any technical issues. That range clear is the only thing that's been potentially poking at our launch. So I'm going to start to quiet down. We'll hear our flight director for today, Tristan Pierce, give some of the final call-outs. As of right now, we are 1 minute away from liftoff.
Wow. One minute, guys. 1 minute. This is going to be a big one.
Flight directors, go for launch.
I'm going to pull the YouTube chat off so that we have a better view here, just temporarily, and then I'll kind of pop it back in.
Here, 20 seconds away from liftoff.
20 seconds, people, 20 seconds.
minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sweet.
We have liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
All engines are still lit. All 33 are lit. We can see that in the lower left-hand corner. Sweet.
Booster after chamber pressure nominal.
"30 seconds into the flight, the rumble's just starting to reach us here at launch control.
Booster and ship,
That
avionics
is the
power,
sound
telemetry
of
nominal.
33 Raptor engines.
Wow. All engines are still lit. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Max Q.
Max Q at 1 minute.
Now pass through the maximum aerodynamic pressure, the most stress the vehicle's going to see on the way uphill.
Beautiful. Absolutely picture perfect. Wow.
All right, our next major milestone coming up, it's going to be hot staging. We're going to see the engines ignite on ship to push it away from the booster.
Man, that is perfect. Still, every single engine is lit. No issues at all.
All right, so hot staging is going to be the next thing coming up. First, we're going to see the booster's engines start to shut down.
That's interesting. Do you see that
All
blue?
but 3. We're going to do what's called most engines cut off instead of main
I don't remember
engine cut
seeing
off,
that on
because
the
3 are
last
gonna
ones.
Keep going, and then we're going to see the engines on ship ignite. Right now, the tower team is doing their go, no go.
Still all Raptor engines are lit.
And we might hear some really good words soon, too. All right. Can still see it up behind me. That is one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen in my entire life.
There they go.
Coming
There
up
they
on
go.
hot staging
Only the
next.
3 inners are on.
Ship engine
There's
startup.
most engines cut off.
Stage
There it
separation.
is.
Booster.
Stage
Perfect.
separation,
Perfect.
hot stage.
Take a look at that lower
Separation
left-hand corner. You can
confirmed.
see all of Starship engines are lit. None are out.
Ship under its own power. I'm seeing 6 out of 6 Raptors lit. Hopefully I got a booster on the way back to me. I'm going to send it to you guys in Hawthorne.
Oh man, that was absolutely incredible. I
Wow.
loved how the crowd
Chamber pressure is nominal.
here in Hawthorne all went ooh at that first view of the blue flames from the booster. As you can see there, first stage currently performing, or excuse me, is now making its way back to the launch site. Again, we are
Ship avionics power and telemetry nominal.
the booster and the tower are both performing automated checks to make sure we are go for the booster to return to the launch pad for that catch. And once those are complete, the flight director.
Booster, boost back burn, shutdown.
Here we go. Nice.
Go for booster return.
All engines are out.
And we did hear that the tower is go for catch. So that was one of the big
Wow.
criteria.
The tower
we
is
were
go
looking
for catch. Now,
It's
bear in
beautiful.
mind,
To hear
Starship is
that
going to go
the-
around the entire planet.
we'll
That's
wait
about
to
an
hear that
hour
the
or so.
gopher
So right
catch
now,
has
it's
been
going to
sent.
be all about that catch.
Beautiful view here from the ship.
Here we go.
And so exciting to hear that we got a go for booster catch. That means it's going to be a really exciting morning. Again, the booster is making its way back towards now land in order to make that catch attempt in the tower.
So incredible to see these views. You can see the ship on the right-hand
Jeez.
side of your screen. All 6 Raptor engines are under full power.
Yes.
Once again, the booster is making its way back to the launch site. We are
You can
going
see
to
the engines.
try
You
and
can see them
catch
just
it
come
using
on,
the
off, on,
chopsticks
just
on the launch tower, the
as
exact
it's
same
kind of
tower
burning
that it just
through.
launched from.
I guess you're going to probably end up
5
hearing that
minutes ago.
sonic boom. I wonder if they're going to be able to hear that
Yeah,
on
the
here.
booster.
Let's
Starship
see.
on nominal
And guys,
trajectory.
I can confirm the command was sent for the booster to come back.
That is
So I'm
incredible
looking
news.
up right now. It's pretty much right overhead of us, and we can see it starting to come down.
Okay, so what is
I
that
can't
little?
wait for us to hear the sonic boom through Dan's mic.
Oh, here we go.
That is going to be incredible. It was so cool to hear the liftoff. And so once again, a successful on-time liftoff of Starship Flight 5. The ship has separated from the booster. The booster is there on your screen. It is making its way back to the launch site. We are going to attempt the catch using the chopsticks. We did hear the confirmation
This
that
is
the command was
unbelievable.
sent to the tower. We are go for catch.
So if they say go for catch, that means not only is it nominal computer based, but also the person on the ground said that it was okay.
13 engines burn off
Here we
all
go.
that velocity. Oh, we can see it coming down through the plume.
Holy God.
Booster coming in hot for booster catch.
We're going to ignite 13 of those Raptor engines, and this view is incredible right now.
All those engines are lit, the steering engines in the center. Everything is
You can
perfect.
see how fast this vehicle is moving on the left hand.
There it goes. It was going 1,200 kilometers per hour, or per minute now, or per hour. Now it's
We're
down
now
to 200.
to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now in the air.
Oh, come on, come on. Are you kidding me? Does it get it? Does it get it? Holy crap. Is that just unfrickin' believable?
This is absolutely insane.
You know.
First ever attempt, we have successfully
Holy
caught
crap.
the Super Heavy booster back at the launch tower.
Every other country in the world was watching this. And seeing this, it was just like landing on the moon. This is so big, so big.
Dan,
Wow.
I don't know about you, but we're losing our stuff up
Starship
here.
in terminal bed.
Guys, I'm sorry. Like, even in this
Holy
day and age,
God.
what we just saw, that looked like magic.
That
Oh,
was-
wow.
Dan,
Wow.
your view must
I want them to zoom in onto Elon right now. I want to see what he looks
We are
like.
still going wild over here over this.
Folks, this is a day for the engineering history books.
That is just unbelievable.
This is a live
Unbelievable.
view of the Super Heavy booster as it has just been successfully caught back at the very same launch tower that it just came from. Dan, I love this. You
So
are
crazy.
reflecting exactly what everybody else here in Hawthorne, except maybe a little bit more because you got to see it with your own eyes.
How was that?
Ship
We
engine
got
cut off.
it. Well, I mean, I can't even describe that. Oh, by the way, ship, main engine cut off, ship's in orbit, but I am like shaking right now.
We got
That was-
congratulations to the team.
Yeah,
It looked like a close
this was
call. I don't
I
know.
mean,
It looked
checking that
perfect to
shit.
me. It looked
It's hard
perfect
to
to me.
believe
Cool
that-
water.
Starship nominal
What a
orbit
stellar
instruction.
job.
Right,
Absolutely.
exciting news there. It's hard to believe that, Booster isn't the only excitement that we have today. Just confirmation there.
That's
A
just-
gorgeous
it's
view of
crazy.
Planet Earth
Now,
behind.
take a look at that fin. Do you see the fin has all of those tiles on it, whereas before it didn't have as many, and then those tiles were coming off, and that's what ended up melting the fin last time.
That is a live view from the top of the tower looking at the
So it's venting.
I am
So it's just
still in
crazy.
disbelief. I'm trying to catch my tears just like the chopsticks caught the booster. It has been nonstop since liftoff.
Wow. It's
We
just
are all
simply
so
wow.
excited about everything that's been happening so far this morning. With the booster having completed its job for today, We are going to take a short break for the next 30 minutes. We'll return back at T plus 40 minutes while the ship continues
All
to
right,
coast
so they're going to take
before re-entry.
a little bit of a break.
Oh man, and as with
for 30
previous
minutes,
flights,
and then they'll be
Starlink
back.
may actually enable us to talk with the ship through re-entry with no communication.
I just can't believe it's
blackout.
just sitting there
We,
like
of
that,
course,
just
are
hanging.
Still testing
It's
Starlink
hanging
during
there.
this phase of
That is
flight,
just
so nothing is certain.
absolutely
But
unbelievable.
if we do have views, we'll be sure to bring those to you live.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's
T plus 40 minutes.
maneuver, landing burn, and splashdown.
Absolutely unbelievable. I'm just going to turn down the volume because they're going to not be speaking, and we don't want any of their music going through. Because God forbid we have any of their music, it's just going to screw things up. So we don't want to do that. So yeah, that was, I mean, guys, in the chat, what do you guys think? Okay. The way I look at this is that the world was watching that. The world was watching that, not just us. Okay, obviously we're in the US. This is something that's just, it's epic, but the rest of the world is watching this and saying, you know what? This is such a monumental thing that's happening here. This is what's going to end up getting us to the moon before China gets to the moon and actually re-land on the moon surface with a manned Starship, which is just insane. But if they can do this accurately, landing on the moon is like nothing, really. I mean, nothing. They can land exactly where they want to land within centimeters. And what I thought was very interesting is as this thing was coming in, right, and doing its final burn, it was literally coming in at an angle like this. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to end up hitting. And just at the last moment, it rights itself and then comes in perfectly. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Perfect. I mean, that's all you can say, is absolutely picture perfect. And then where it caught it was exactly where it needed to catch it, at the very top where it has all of the reinforcement. Once again, perfect. So this is big. So they're going to be, right now, they're going to be doing the fuel transfer. They'll probably open up the bay where they would normally launch out Starlink satellites. They're going to work on that. There's going to be a bunch of testing done while in orbit. And once again, in 40 minutes, it'll be back. And we will see what ends up happening with Starship. Will Starship be able to land within centimeters this time, in comparison to a mile, within centimeters, just like Super Heavy did? And like I said before, if it can, in the next launch, IFT-6, they might actually land on one pad. They might land the Super Heavy, and on the secondary pad, which is currently being built, they might be able to land the Starship. If that happens, I mean, we're there, guys. We are there. So once again, 2026 is when Artemis is supposed to hit the moon, and that is with Starship. So that is important. But what's even more important is what she was talking about, is the window, the launch window to get to Mars is also 2026. I did a whole video on that. You can go back and watch one of my videos on that. That really explains it in detail. But it only happens every, let's call it 2 years, a little bit less. But let's call it every 2 years is when we can actually slingshot our way to Mars. We actually pull ahead of Mars, right? We come in, let's say, hot. We come in off that orbit, which is more, let's say, elliptical in comparison to round, right? It comes in elliptical. We come by Mars, and then Mars kind of pulls up, is how it works, which is really cool. So once again, this only happens every 2 years, and the window is only like 30 days or 2 months. It's a very short, a very brief window. So this thing needs to be perfect if we want to at least try to get one of these starships to Mars. Even if it doesn't land on Mars, if it just sits in circles around Mars in orbit, that's a good thing in itself. Because once again, you can now use that as a gas station later on, which is even more crazy, to be able to use a Starship on orbit as a gas station. And that's kind of what their plans are to do, which is Really interesting if you think about it. Really interesting and smart too. So anyways, let me hear from you guys in the chat window. What did you guys think? What did you think? Let me see here. Just want to call some shout outs to everyone. Cool Water was saying how we talked about that one already. Wendy is talking to John. Let's see. 15 million pounds of thrust. Yeah. 15 million pounds. Just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Like I said before, the dry weight on the vehicle is 120 what is it? 120 metric tons or something. And then when it's fully fueled or wet weight is like 1,400 metric tons. I mean, it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let's see here. Let me go into here. Engines look good. Yes. Splash them. Let's see. GI Tanker says we are in Brownsville and felt the Starship liftoff and saw it from 20 miles away. That's amazing. That's pretty cool. So that means, GI Tanker, did you hear the sonic boom at 20 miles away or did you not? I would like to know from you. Let me know. History in the making, Gerald said. Absolutely. Historic. Once again, this is seen throughout the entire globe. Everyone, our allies and our foes, let's say, are watching this and saying, you know what? They did it. This is just amazing. This is amazing. And I'm sure China's not happy about it because that puts us once again one step closer to the moon quicker than they will be. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Let's see. Let's see. Peter says, well done, SpaceX. And our future. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool Water says it looked like the bottom of the booster almost contacted the tower before becoming vertical. Yes, I mean, it came in hot at that angle, and just before it got to the tower, it righted itself. I mean you're not going to get the precision. The precision of moving such a massive structure with those gimbaling engines, 3 gimbaling, and it's baffling, right? How you can do that because you're working in a 3-dimensional space and you're not just working on thrust and weight and angle and speed and everything else. You're actually working on wind and everything. There's just a ton of factors that could go wrong or right. So that's an amazing view right there. Check that out. Wow. That's one of the flaps, one of the sides. That's picture perfect. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Let's get back into here. What do we got? 11:30, 6 p.m. where you're watching. Well, that's it from Alex. Let's see. Yeah, we had about 500 people on board during that launch. That was awesome. I'm so glad everyone was here. Listen, if you've never been here before, subscribe to the channel. I have about 380 videos now just on SpaceX Starlink, helpful how-tos, tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff, what to do, what not to do, and of course, what to buy, what not to buy, and how to set up this Starlink and setting up mesh networks and everything else. So subscribe to the channel and then take a look at the playlist that I put together just for you for SpaceX Starlink. So check that out if you're new here. Let's see. Eric says, Joseph, do you see SpaceX redesign so Starship and booster can land on their ends rather than chopsticks? I just don't think so. And the reason being is the chopsticks make more sense because the vehicle doesn't have to have landing feet. You know, it doesn't have to have these legs. Every time there is like something that you add to a mix, there's one more thing that can go wrong, right? So by having legs that have to fold in and then later on fold out properly, if one leg doesn't fold out properly, the whole thing topples over and you're screwed, right? That's happened once before with the Falcon 9. So I think the Mechazilla or the chopsticks is the way to go in this circumstance, because you have one, let's say one item where there could be a problem, and you can definitely make sure that that is good, number one, and it's always going to be in that one location. It doesn't change, right? So the location is always a known. You lose factors that way. You don't end up with the leg problem, in my personal opinion. But who knows? They could do it. Now the issue that they will have, and they will have to work on, is landing on the moon, because you're not going to have Mechazilla on the moon, right? But you're also not going to be landing the Super Heavy. You're going to be landing the Starship. So the Starship will end up having to have some type of landing support on it to be able to land on the moon. So what they do with that, I really don't know. Is it going to be similar legs that they have on the Falcon 9? Could be. They would have to be pretty big damn legs, right, for such a massive structure, but that's probably what they're going to end up having to do. But for now, this is the way they're going to go. Let's see. Glenn says, question, are you currently able to receive text messages through DTC alone without other... Yes. So let me see. DTC. I am in a hurricane area. So let me see if DTC is still working. I'm going to shut off Bluetooth. I'm going to shut off Wi-Fi. I'm going to shut off the cell tower, everything. But I'm not shutting off, I'm not turning on the airplane mode, right? We don't want to do that. And let's see what ends up happening. 0 bars. Boom. I got 2 bars. Yeah. So the answer to that is yes. Let me see if I can flip this around. And I'll pull this down. And I'll see if you guys can actually see it. Let me see if it actually works. It does. All right. So do we see this right here? I'm going to pull this down a little bit. Right here at the top. See, I have right now 1 bar. That keeps bouncing. Let me see. Oh, 2 bars. So it keeps bouncing from 1 bar to 2 bars, from 1 bar to 2 bars. And that is DTC. That is service that's being provided by SpaceX Starlink to us. If this was Apple service, right, it would say SOS on here, which would be that emergency service, or however you want to call it. But for now, this is the SOS, or not SOS. This is actually DTC. So pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. I'll throw back on the chat so everyone can see the chat once again, and we will just keep that up on the screen so you guys can see it, see what's going on. Actually, you know what? I like this full screen. I like this. Maybe what we'll do is we'll just turn the chat window back on here, so that this way you guys can see what is going on. Bear with me 1 second. We're going to move this around a little bit, shift it a little bit, shuck and jive. Yeah, here we go. And I'll stick this over here. Perfect. And we will move that over. There we go. So this way you guys can see your chats and see my ugly mug. And we can also see what's going on with the Starship at the same time. Let's see here. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ronald. Really appreciate that. What an amazing morning. I can't agree more. What an amazing morning. Kevin, thank you for the super chats. Joseph, thank you for the commentary. For the historic event, very much appreciated your insight. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate the super chats. All of those gifts we got, I think it was over 50 or, 100 free gifts, memberships that were put out there. Shannon put out twice 50 free memberships to people. So once again, if you got a free membership, and also Peter put out a free membership too. If you got a free membership, definitely call it out and say thank you to the person that gave you the free membership. Let me see here if we missed anything. One thing that we want to make sure that ends up happening here is that heat. This is going to be the next big thing, right? We saw that Mechazilla caught the Super Heavy without a problem. The next thing is, how is that underlayment? How is that the new shielding, right? The heat shielding. How does it work out? How are those tiles? Now, we're seeing a good view of that fin or that flap, and all the tiles are on there. I don't see any missing. There might be a little chip or something towards the center there, but it looks like everything is intact. Whereas, as on the last time, some of those tiles came off and ended up leading to the melting, almost, I guess, of the flap. Not really good. So we're seeing everything is good. I would like to see an image of the entire structure, the craft, to see if there's anything missing. We keep getting this one image, which is a good picture, but I would like to see what the rest looks like. But just look at the clarity of that. Look at the clarity. I mean, it's insane. I mean, that's just crazy. It's coming from space. There's once again the view of that flap, and that is picture perfect. We can see some things flying, zero gravity, rotating there. Little pieces of debris or whatnot, maybe chunks of ice, it could be too. Hopefully it's not debris of the craft, from the craft. Let's go down here. Ian says thank you to Shannon. Everyone say thank you to Shannon. He's just such an amazing support of this channel. I can't say thank you enough to Shannon. Thank you. Let's see. Peter. Thank you, Peter, for being here. We want to find out where the other Peter is. I want to make sure he's okay. I will let you guys know about that. See how he's doing. Our moderator. Let's see. Any questions? Once again, if you have any questions, put a Q before your question or at JCristina. It's easier for me to find. Phil, the Brit says, will the Starship splash land where expected off Australia? If so, or if not, where? I believe they were talking about the Indian Ocean is where it's going to land. Just same as the last time. The same location is where it's going to splash down. Once again, that is the Starship. Super Heavy obviously was caught with the salad tongs back there in Texas, which is just unbelievable. But yes, the Indian Ocean is where it's going to land once again. But the big but here with it is that it lands within centimeters of where it should land. This way, they know that they'll be able to land that with another set of Mechazilla arms on the next flight. So we'll see what happens. That is going to be really critical. I want to see that, number one, those tiles are secure. They're not popping off. There's no burnouts of the flaps or anything. We don't see plasma pouring off this thing like we did last time because it was melting. Also, we want to make sure that it can land where it's supposed to land. So those are the two big things, is the heat shielding. Like I said at the very beginning of the show, that heat shielding was 100% replaced. So all 18,000 ceramic tiles were replaced. And underneath those ceramic tiles, they put that underlayment, that new, let's call it a heat shielding underneath that too. So it's double coated, let's say. So if one of those tiles pop off, it's okay because there is another, let's say, piece of security, right? Another piece of heat shielding underneath. Let's see. David says, I don't think they will ever do single-purpose towers. Multi-use facilities are the most efficient use of materials in space. Yes, that is true. Absolutely. There's no reason, unless, the only reason they would do single-use towers if they have a tower specifically made for Starship only, and they're launching repetitively a lot of them. So my understanding is the Starship, they have the secondary pad, right, coming in Texas. Fine. So you'll have two. But there's another pad that's being built here in Florida, Cape Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center. Now, that pad is supposed to be the pad that they're going to be using for all of their commercial or all of their main launches. And the pad in Texas is going to be for all of the test flights. So I think that's kind of interesting because that means that they're really going to build out Florida. I'm happy about it because that's only 3 hours away. I'll be able to actually go there with you guys and be able to cover this. That would be cool. Whereas Texas, that's a 21-hour drive or something for me, which is not going to happen. let's see what else we have here. Alex says obviously they got the landing idea from the Thunderbirds. Yes. Let's see. No part of the rocket. No. Will the Starship? Yes. Multi-purpose. Yes, we talked about that. Joe, you still have Adobe Scan on your phone. Shame on you. Dutchman says, do I actually have that on there? Let me see. Do I have Adobe Scan? I do have Adobe Scan on here. Well, it's actually not downloaded. It's probably was on there before. It's currently in the cloud, and it's not in use. I am still not using any Adobe product at all for 5 years now. When I did the Life After Adobe Cutting the Cord series 5 years ago, and I took a lot of you guys on that path with me for using alternatives and breaking free of Adobe, I have not used Adobe since. Nothing. The only thing that I've ever used is like a PDF, that would pop up that might use Adobe, like Acrobat or something like that. But for the most part, especially now that I'm using Linux, because I'm doing the Life After Microsoft Windows, breaking free of Billy the Kid over there, right? I have not been in Windows for, I think, about 70, I can look it up, but I think it's like 70 plus days now. So let's call it 2 months, 2.5 months. I have not been in Windows. And matter of fact, this is Windows. There it is. My NVMe is here. This is my Windows, and it has not come. Matter of fact, it's got dust on it. It has not come, or hasn't been put back into the computer since I broke free of Windows and been using Linux. So everything that you see me doing for the last 2.5 months has all been done on Linux. So you don't really need Windows, right? I do all of my photo work, everything, video, the capture, as well as I use DaVinci Resolve, everything. Not a problem at all. So the other thing that I'm going to be doing, guys, is I promised you I was going to install another video card. This just came in yesterday. This video card is the 4060 Ti, and it's a 16 gig. I'm going to install this, and I'm going to take out that GTX 1070 that I have in there now, which is like my backup card. We already went through a 3060, an RTX 3060 Ti. We also went through another 4060 Ti by Asus that failed after like installing it 3 times. It failed. Also, I tested out the an RX 7800. Yeah, it's a 7800 XT, and that was also a 16 gigabyte. That thing just failed horribly. It did not work well with DaVinci Resolve. So we're going to stick with NVIDIA. So anyways, that's what's going on currently with Linux, or my breaking free of Billy the Kid over there. Let's see. Age-wise one says legs for starships don't have to be as big on the moon as one third the gravity. You are 100% correct with that. But will they make the legs usable for the moon and Mars, or will they make different legs for Mars? I don't know. I'm not sure how they'll end up doing that. I guess if they made it for Mars, it would be beefier, obviously. Let's see. Tower pictures have lower boost. Yes. Are gases being vented to see anything? Yeah. So the gases were originally we saw the gases vented on the Super Heavy when it landed. We did see that fire still going on by the engines. You know, in the future, I would like to see that not continue. I mean, for the most part, you don't want a fire just sitting there running. You're melting shit. You don't want that to happen. So maybe on the tower itself, they have some type of halon, some type of method of putting the fire out. Whatever method they want to use. But I think that would probably be something that they would look at, because I don't, you don't want to see that just sit there and burn for minutes on end. Not that it's going to hurt it, considering the flames that were pouring out of it, but who knows? It's better put it out. let me see, how many Raptor engines can be lost and still have successful mission? It really, I'm not sure of the answer on that, but I am going to guess that you'll be able to have a good portion of them not working, especially so when it initially takes off, you could probably lose, I'm going to guess 4 or 5 of those Raptor engines, and it might get to orbit a little bit slower, but it's going to get there, okay? Because those engines are overkill. They can definitely move that load. But on the way back, right, when it ends up having to land, if you lose, we can see that fin moving. There you go. There you go. So it is now it's making a rotation, a turning maneuver. There we go. And that fin still doesn't have any type of sign of chunks missing. So that's good. What was I talking about? What were we just talking about? The Raptor engines. Yes. So the only issue is on the landing, right? So when this thing is coming in like this, you have the 6 engines, right? You have the 3 engines in the middle. Those 3 engines in the middle are your gimbaling engines. Those are the ones that actually work on how this thing is being positioned. So if you lost one of those engines, you're screwed. Okay, it's not going to land. At that point, they probably, if they were to see one of those 3 engines not lit, they would have landed it in the ocean. That would have been it, right? You need all of those engines for the landing. Now, there's the 3 outer engines. Could you lose one of those engines and still be able to land it? Probably so, okay? Probably so. Maybe not as easily, obviously, but you would probably be able to land it. So, yeah, as far as how many engines can be lost, I don't know the exact number, but on the initial launch, you can lose a bunch of them, and it'll still get up there. It'll still make it. Let me see here. Landing on legs on orbit. A shuttle type of Starship would need only within, 1/6 of the gravity, exactly. Gravity was going to play a big portion for sure. Fares of Arabia, I guess. Fares of Arabia says fake shit. So, I mean, I guess Ferris thought that was fake. I don't know. Maybe it was green screen, like when we were landed on the moon. I don't know, guys. So, I don't know. I guess that is what he's saying. Thanks a lot, Chris. Awesome broadcast. I appreciate that. This is a lot of fun. Tom says, I remember well where I was when Apollo 11 landed and Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon for the first time. And now this event sears into my memory too. Absolutely. This is a monumental event. This is really going to pave the way for interplanetary travel. 100%, because this is going to not only be able to allow for a speeding up of the cadence of the number of rockets that can be launched due to the fact that they can be landed in the same place where they launched from, and then they can be worked on and then launched again within hours or within days or within, let's say, a shorter period of time. And they don't have to build another one, right? Whereas if they were landing in the ocean, it's pretty much scrap metal at that point. So, yes, this is definitely a big thing, Tom. You're 100% correct. Let's see here. Popcorn. Let's do the popcorn, guys. James says, do you think that they will have designated just landing towers in the future in different areas as to not risk launch towers? It's possible. That is possible. Look at this. What is going on here? Let me listen in for a second. All right. They're still just maneuvering. All right. I just want to make sure. Look at that. You can see that's just a crazy image, guys. Look at that. Just rotating. Let me go ahead and move that chat window a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and move it to the other side so you can see more of what's going on here. Just move things just around a little bit. a little bit, something like that. Looks good to me. There we go. So, yeah, when we look at that, are we seeing any tiles missing? We are. So I see 2 tiles missing up close. Take a look at those guys, right? There's 2 tiles missing there. Now, are those tiles missing on purpose, or are those tiles missing, in other words, put heat, like thermometers, let's call them, thermal items in there, or not? I don't know. But there are 2 tiles missing there. There looks like a smaller one back missing. Further back, you can see a little hollow spot. But really not bad. So that's a couple. Up, they're back. Here we go. Let's bring them back.
The crowd here is still so excited. We lifted off from Starbase at 7:25 a.m. Central Time. The Super Heavy booster and ship had a successful separation, as well as a good boost back burn and good separation of the hot stage adapter. The Super Heavy booster then completed the landing burn with 13 Raptor engines igniting and slowing down the vehicle perfectly for Mechazilla to catch the Super Heavy booster for the first ever land recovery of the vehicle.
Amazing, guys. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely stellar.
It is insane to think that we're not done yet. We still have in about.
I love the
48
top says
minutes,
powered by
the ship will
Starlink.
re-enter. Oh, the flap, all the flaps that will today, not that could. The ship will re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Now, as a reminder, one of the main goals of today's test flight is for the ship to make it through the extreme heat of re-entry and to do so in a controlled manner. We learned a lot about this phase during Flight 4 and, as a result, completely reworked the heat shield, but more on all that in just a minute. Now, re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with the spacecraft because re-entering, it'll be re-entering at about 8 kilometers per second, or about 5 miles per second of roughly orbital velocity. Now, those speeds, the spacecraft moving through the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. We saw this in action on Flight 4 thanks to Starlink, and wow, it was breathtaking. The blanket of plasma ends up distorting communication frequencies, so it's not uncommon to experience brief blackouts in communication, but hopefully that's not the case today.
And Kate, that's where Starlink has just kind of been just the unsung hero and the MVP of this test campaign. I mean, it's able to give us data, not just awesome video, but also data in real time as we're going through reentry. I mean, this is something that throughout the history of spaceflight just hasn't been possible. And this is an environment that is so unforgiving, so hard to model, so hard to understand. And for the first time ever, we're able to literally watch as it unfolds in real time, get that data in real time. And we're able to do that with Starlink. And it's great for us because we get to see something. We get to see the greatest light show on the planet or off the planet. But what it means for this program, we're able to learn tremendous amounts about our heat shield, our angle of attack, everything that we're doing as we're coming in through the atmosphere at hypersonic speeds. And it's, you can't just thank it enough. And also, special shout out, you're gonna see some additional flap camera views. We've got a really amazing team of avionics, cameras, electronics, software people who made all that possible. And so hopefully they're going to give us an even better show on the way in today as we're coming in at about 5 times the speed of sound.
Amazing. Amazing. Yes, SpaceX Starlink on board.
Yeah, those flaps, Dan, that you see there,
Sending
that's
all
what's
of the
helping.
images.
Starship is in a
Unbelievable.
good attitude for entry, approaching the entry interface.
There we go. This is it, guys.
Some good
This is
call-outs
it.
there,
I
preparing
love on the
for
upper right-hand
re-entry
corner
for
it says
Starship.
powered by Starlink.
And again, that's what Dan was mentioning those flaps on the vehicle, and if you've been watching us for the last few minutes, you could see that the flaps were rotating around and helping orient the vehicle as it prepares for the beginning of re-entry today.
Yeah, exactly. Re-entry will be enabled by that heat shield that you see on the bottom half. That heat shield is made up of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles, and they are designed to insulate the vehicle during atmospheric entry. At that point in time, temperatures can be as high as 26,000 degrees Fahrenheit or about 1,400 degrees Celsius. The design itself also permits for rapid reuse with no refurbishment between the flights. And fun fact that I think is just incredible in terms of scale, but the heat shield alone on the ship has a total mass of 10.5 tons, which is crazy because these things are really lightweight. They're made out of ceramic. We have a couple of them here. The one that I'm holding is used on flat surfaces as, let's see if we go that way, because as it's flat. The one that Jesse has is kind of more what you see there on the side.
Yeah, exactly. And having these different shapes, the flat version and the curved version, allow us to cover a lot more of the surface area of the vehicle. Again, we need to protect every portion of it. So even those curved surfaces, and especially the hinge area, if you watch Flight 4, is really what we want to make sure that we protect. And yeah, Kate, these are
Guys,
very,
you see
very
you see the
lightweight.
plasma
But
building
when you
up
put
now?
18,000 of them
see it?
together, they add up
See
to
the little purple-
10.5 tons, which is incredible. Now, we did mention
That's how
earlier
hot this
that
thing is getting.
the heat
Look at
shield
that.
has been completely reworked.
Starship has entered the atmosphere, remains on a nominal entry trajectory.
Now
We
let's
can
see if that
start to
flap
see that
holds up this
plasma now
time.
starting to
Doesn't
build
start
up on the
melting off.
side. It's not quite full plasma yet, but we are starting to see that color indicate
Yeah.
that the heat is building up on the heat shield.
Yeah, this is such a cool sight to see because you really never really have gotten to
What
see
a
this
clear
live
picture that
before,
is.
Before Flight
Before Flight 4.
yeah. And as Kate mentioned, it's getting a little more red, as you can see there on your screen. That means that heat is building up. But that's exactly what these heat shield tiles are there for, is to protect against this plasma and this really, really extreme heat that the vehicle
Look at
is going
that.
to see
Man.
for about the next 10 more minutes or so.
Yeah, so the ship will attempt to light the 3 center Raptor engines.
Can you imagine
and those
minutes
are the
at
engines that can
28,000
gimbal or
degrees?
maneuver or point, and they do that to help flip the ship until the engines point down so that it can land using the Raptor's thrust in the ocean. So that will happen after we get through this re-entry period. Again, now starting to see. And we also might start to see the flaps actuate a little bit here as the vehicle controls its roll during re-entry. That was one of the main learning points from Flight 3 was the roll control didn't work quite as well as we wanted
Yeah.
it to. We learned that we needed some redundancies. So we added more roll control thrusters, and we'll see those in action as well today as that was a Flight 3 learning.
We can
that
see
worked
the
better on
edge of
Flight
that
4
flap
and
getting
still
brighter and
enabling that same
brighter.
design
You see
today.
that?
Yeah,
Starship has passed through.
And now we can
85
see the flap
kilometers
moving.
altitude.
That's
Flaps
good.
now have
But
control
that
of the
is
vehicle.
pretty bright on that
great call
flap.
out, as Kate mentioned. The flaps are controlling the attitude of the vehicle. And I love these views because it looks so calm.
Yeah, calm.
Everything is relative, right? So relative to this camera on the ship, it looks so calm and smooth. But the vehicle is traveling extremely fast. You can see the speed on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Starship is designed to land on Mars where there are no runways
26,000
or other humans to help
kilometers
out.
per
so we
hour.
also want rapid reusability. So we're doing propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes. And so we will use the engines on this vehicle to help slow the vehicle down for a vertical landing.
Yeah. Now, entry is going to
So we can see that it was
basically happen
originally
in
coming
5
in
phases.
like about
The first is
this
low
angle,
drag that
and
lasts
now you
for
can see it
about
becoming
3
more
minutes.
and
Next
more
is high
upright
heating,
as it's
and
coming
that
in, right? So from
the
this
beginning when
angle,
heating
it's about like
increases,
this now. And you can see on the
above
screen where
the,
it shows
heat rate
the
breakup
angle of
limit.
it, and then you'll
That
see eventually
lasts for about 10
the
minutes. We then have high dynamic pressure.
engines fire back
Starship will
up once it
continue
gets
to slow down
closer.
and experience increased aerodynamic
Just before
loads during
landing.
that phase. And that will
Man, I
happen
don't like
before
that,
reaching
though.
Mach 1, about a minute after.
Starship is approaching the peak heating phase of entry.
Yeah,
remains
that's
on a
hot.
nominal trajectory.
Look at that, guys. Look at
Okay,
that.
so that
You
was
seeing
phase
sparks?
2 that he
You
just
see like the
called
little
out,
sparks?
that I was mentioning.
You
After
see little
peak
little
heating
thing?
is that
I don't
dynamic
like it.
pressure around Mach 1, and that will last
Those aren't
about
really
a minute
sparks.
after
Those are
leaving
like
the
little
hypersonic
pieces that are
area,
coming
and then we
off.
go into subsonic,
that are-
and then of
that are
course,
burning.
landing burn. Wow, what an incredible view.
God.
The colors are so amazing.
The
and
colors at
the colors actually also tell you a
28,000
little bit
degrees.
about the temperature that the vehicle is seeing as well. So I think that's pretty cool that we get this amazing live visual.
Speaking of live visual, the flap, we have more views, more cameras on board Starship, as Dan mentioned a few minutes ago.
That's so
we
good.
are hoping that all 4 flaps will stay more intact than they did last time. We did make some changes
yeah.
to the design in order to help enable
Starship
this.
is now experiencing peak heating, remains on a nominal entry trajectory.
That's good. That's good. We
Great
see a
news
few
there
sparks, a little
that
couple of
Starship
things
is
coming
continuing
off.
along the path that we intended it to fly.
That's
can keep
perfect.
track
Now we're
with
even
how
more
fast it's
upright.
going
Once again, we
and
started
how
out like
high it
this,
is above
and then we
Earth
were like
using
this, and at this
the
point we're coming in
display
like
is
that.
there on the
all right,
bottom
at this
right-hand
angle.
side of your screen.
And remember, the whole underbelly of it has that
This is
the
where we're
underlayment,
really
let's
gonna
say,
see
the
a
heat
lot of
seal,
those
the heat shielding,
improvements
and the
from Flight
tiles.
4 really come into action. Is you guys kind of talked about, so what's called the static arrow. Those are kind of the poke out points on the flaps. Those get exposed to some pretty extreme heat environments, and so we added some additional, basically made it a lot more robust for the thermal protection there. And we
Tiles.
learned not just from visuals and stuff like that. We had those missing tile tests on Flight 4 where we intentionally left some out, kept in some backup layers. They're called ablatives, which means they just gradually melt away to help dissipate the heat. And we've got an entire layer of ablative underneath the tiles on this Starship today. So even if you get a gap in a tile or a tile is broken, anything like that, we've got essentially backup options. And what we're really trying to do today is do an on-target landing. As we lost the flaps, you lose a lot of your control, and so we didn't land right on target last flight. This time we're trying to really nail the target within just tens of meters, and that'll just be a really huge step on feeling like we're closer to bringing a ship back. Obviously, there's a lot of work before we get there, but we just caught a booster.
Yes, that was kind of good. You caught a booster. Oh my God. So yeah, so as we can
So the
see,
view on
it's
your
coming in
left
like this,
is as
and
a
the whole
helicopter
belly
passes
is what
by
he's
Dan,
talking
bound
about,
Starbase.
has that, I call it the underlayment, but ablative basically is what it is. The whole belly has that on it, like a skin, let's call it, a coating that can melt to reduce heat, but then it has all of those tiles. And like I said before, every one of those tiles were replaced, all 18,000 of those, with an upgraded tile, upgraded everything. So that's what we wanted to see, if this new heat shielding is going to
sorry
work.
about that, guys. Maverick
And
just
it's actually
closed the
working
tower.
amazingly. We don't see many
might be-
tiles
he might be
missing, number
coming
one.
back,
That means
so-
they're holding on, they're staying glued down. Not really glue, but
these
then
views,
also
brought
we're
to us
seeing
by
that the
Starlink. It's
all that
incredible that we
plasma
have this
pouring off is
high-definition
not affecting
capability. In
that
fact,
fin, that
that view
flap,
on
like
the
last
left
time it started
Starship is now
melting.
halfway through the peak heating phase of entry, remains on a good trajectory.
Perfect.
So
So it's at
great news there, hearing that we're
22,000
about halfway
kilometers.
through the peak
22,000
heating phase, like I said,
kilometers per hour is the speed.
earlier this last,
So it is slowing
roughly
down, as we can
10-ish
see.
minutes.
And the
we
altitude
did
is
hear
at
earlier that
69
the flaps have
kilometers.
control of the vehicle,
So it's getting there.
also
We're getting
good news
closer.
there. It is incredible that we've basically had views the entire time.
Right. Yeah.
Although,
Thanks to Starlink.
my memory did black out a little bit after booster catch, so I think we had views. But all through the coast phase, we had some beautiful views of planet Earth behind the ship as it was in its orbit.
Yeah, and I also do want to point out on your right-hand screen, we've got a more encompassed view of the flap. As we watched in Flight 4, the hinge area was the area where we got a little bit of that burn through. This view, this new camera view on the ship will help us be able to visually see more of what's happening in that area. And again, we have improved our heating tiles, and so hopefully we've protected the hinge a lot better this time.
Yes.
But again, these views are additional.
Lonnie says it's all
to
about the heat
data
shield
that we get on these flight
game.
tests
It's all
that
the
help
heat shield
enable
game
us
now.
kind
Yeah,
of put the
absolutely.
data that we get in the
It's
computer
all about the heat shield.
to the visuals that we see and try and align those and
No,
use
that's
that
not
for
venting.
improvements.
That's like
Now, we
you
heard
can
a
see
call out
like
there saying that
that's like
engine
heat.
chill
That's the
has
atmosphere.
begun.
You can
This
see
is an
like it's
indication
coming off. That's not
that
actually
we are
venting.
starting
you're
to
saying.
flow a little bit of the super cold liquid oxygen
Oh, it is.
through the hardware,
So that
through
is
the Raptor
venting.
engine, specifically the turbo pumps, to
Wow,
help
so
ensure
that is
that
interesting.
the hardware
Nice.
is at the right temperature before we give a full push.
So
a
they're
full
chilling the
flow of
engines
propellant,
before powering
at
them back
engine
up.
startup. So all of that to say, we are getting closer to the landing burn.
So,
We
so you
definitely
have
are. Again,
chilling
if you
going
look
on,
at
and
your-
right next to the
bottom right-hand
chilling,
of
you
your
have
screen, you can see
plasma
the
pouring
altitude
off
that the
it
ship is,
at
and it has
28,000
been
degrees.
slowly making its way closer and closer to Earth. We're currently at about 63 kilometers from planet Earth, and you'll see that number trend lower and lower as we get closer and continue through this re-entry.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Absolutely
this is
unbelievable,
going to go on
guys.
for a little, actually a while longer. We have about 10 minutes or so, roughly, before we execute the
landing burn.
the ignition for the landing burn, starting with the landing flip. So we're making a controlled re-entry. This is one of the primary objectives for Starship today, is to demonstrate another controlled re-entry, even more controlled than what we saw on Flight 4. And so far, that is looking good.
You know, honestly, everything is really looking good.
And then
I mean, you're not
as
seeing
as we
anything
start
falling
to really
off
get
it.
lower, we're going to
I
start
don't see any
seeing
burn
the
throughs.
atmosphere's effects start to take place, and that's
All right, so now we're
when
seeing
we'll
some
start
sparks,
we'll be dropping
right?
our speed down
Coming off that
closer to the speed
that
of
fin,
sound. You'll see the flaps start to maneuver.
the flap. You can just see like the
we
little
were able
sparks
to do a landing
flying
burn
off.
on Flight 4, which kind of caught all of us off guard. It was pretty incredible after seeing the flaps survive through. And we're going to try and do another one on this flight today. We tweaked it a little bit, so we're going to try and splash down at a little bit of a gentler angle this time, instead of just kind of hit the water and fall over. And the goal with that is try and keep the ship intact, and then if we're able to then get some additional video of it, again, that's just more data. And everything we
I think besides keeping the ship intact, I think the reason they're trying to slow it down.
Peak heating phase of flight, approaching maximum entry dynamic pressure.
Oh, here we go. So this is when it could burn up, if it's going to be burning up. It's going to happen now. But I think that they're going to slow it down, and they're going to put it precisely where they want it to go, so that they can possibly catch it in the future, not just to land softer, just to land softer.
Just dense enough that we're feeling the most pressure, but hopefully we're going to start feeling a little bit less heat now.
Looks like
Man.
we got more views.
Now
of
we have
each
more
of the
cameras. I
flaps
like it.
on
I like
the
it.
ship as it's making its way back down to Earth. And we did pass through peak heating and still got really good views throughout that whole period. Typically, during the highest heat on the vehicle, we tend to build up a lot of plasma, and that's typically when we would lose, connection or views of the vehicle. But again, with Starlink, we were able to get some live views throughout that entire process there.
And we're
Man,
coming up.
those
We'll
flaps
start
are
hearing a
doing-
couple more milestones in
The
about
flaps are
4
holding
minutes
up.
or
These
so.
fins are
When we
perfect.
start getting down to like the transonic, the subsonic, when we're starting to move closer to and beneath the speed of sound.
So we're at
And,
49,000
I mean,
kilometers
we're getting
per
live views,
hour
we're getting live
traveling,
data.
and
We've
we're
got
at
a couple
54
additional
kilometers.
tests on this one today, where we left off some missing tiles again to test some additional backup layers. We also have, I don't know if we can still quite see them in this view, but you may have noticed we had some kind of silvery looking tiles on Starship as well. And those were pretty much standard tiles, but they were wrapped in aluminum. And it was a pretty simplistic, straightforward one where aluminum starts to melt at roughly the same temperature where steel starts to lose its strength, not necessarily melt. And so if we see stuff melting, we know what our steel is going to be exposed to. But
Interesting.
yeah, 59 minutes since launch, should be coming up on transonic and everything in just about 3 minutes.
So that makes sense. That makes sense. So those tiles that we saw that were missing, those two big
here,
tiles,
we
most
have
likely were
coverage
missing
of
on purpose.
all 4 flaps. We can see, so for those that perhaps didn't catch a glimpse of the vehicle before liftoff, there are 2 flaps at the forward end and 2 flaps at the aft end. The larger camera view that is there on the right-hand side of your screen, that is a view of one of the aft end or the bottom end flaps.
Oh boy. That is melting.
We can start to see some heat buildup and peeking through on one of the flaps there in the top left-hand corner of your screen.
Yeah, that's burning through. Yep, that's not looking good.
Once again, Starship now at T+1 hour and 9 seconds into its flight today, re-entering
that
the
flap
Earth's
is
atmosphere.
melting down.
Currently about
But it could just be the
45
skin. That's what
above
happened the last
surface of
time.
the Earth,
Even
now
though the
44.
fin,
We are targeting
the flap
a
was
soft
melting, or the
splashdown
covering
in the
was
Indian
melting because the
Ocean,
tiles came off and the skin
about,
came off. The bones, the
northwest-ish
structure,
of
it was still
Australia,
working, which is
and
even
we
more
are
crazy.
attempting to,
But yes,
as
the
we did on
exterior
Flight
layer
4,
of this is melting.
perform a flip maneuver as well as
Starship is at maximum entry dynamic pressure, remains on a good trajectory.
Man, take a look at those
so that
tiles.
Is great news there.
You look at the
like Dan
heat
said
buildup on
earlier,
those
this
ceramic
is basically
tiles.
Max Q
Just
part
red.
2. So this is the greatest amount of aerodynamic loads that the vehicle will experience during its flight. It's coming back through the Earth's atmosphere. You know, it was above the Earth's atmosphere in space where there was no friction. We can obviously see heat as evidence of that friction buildup. The atmosphere is actually helping to slow the vehicle down. If you're watching the telemetry in the bottom right-hand side,
So we're at 6,000 kilometers, and we're at 6,000 kilometers per hour and 39 kilometers altitude.
Now the 4 flaps on the ship help steer the vehicle, and one of the main objectives for the ship today is to demonstrate controlled re-entry during this phase of flight, this re-entry phase.
They want to get this thing to land exactly where it needs to land.
6 engines on ship, but
Not a
we
mile
only
off.
need 3 of them, the 3 sea-level engines. We will have that flip maneuver happen very close to touching down for splashdown. We'll do that flip maneuver, ignite those engines, slow the vehicle down.
So we will see now, do they
and then
only ignite the 3 outer engines to land it? Or do they also ignite the gimbaling 3 on the inside? That'll be interesting to know, because that's going to determine if they are trying to get that to an exact
part, earlier, we hope to have some more views,
position
even
or
of that
not.
phase of the flight. So
let's take a look to
that
see if
we
those
can,
engines, all 6 ignite, or if just the outer 3 ignite
we
on
are
landing.
hoping to splash down softer than we did last time on Flight 4. Right now, Starship continuing to make its descent back to
Starship
planet
is
Earth.
at Mach 2, remains on a good trajectory.
All right, great news there. That tells us that the vehicle is traveling twice the speed of sound. So we will then, the next call out that we'll hear is
24
that it is
kilometers
traveling
altitude?
about the speed of sound, and then
And
we
it's
will hear a
traveling
call out
1,200
that
kilometers per hour.
That will be the call out that it is transonic, and then we will hear another call out saying that it is subsonic, meaning going slower than the speed of sound.
Starship is transonic.
There it is. So at this point in time, we say transonic because certain parts of the vehicle, like the flap that you see on your screen, might be experiencing
moving. That's
airflow
good.
faster than the speed of sound.
You see the flap moving.
While other parts of the ship may be
Sweet.
experiencing airflow.
Starship is in the subsonic belly flop.
Subsonic
All right, so
belly
now the
flop. There you
entire
go.
vehicle
We can see
is
it. It went from
traveling
coming in
slower
like
than the speed
this
of sound,
to
so
now
subsonic.
being like
The
this,
crowd here
right?
at Mission Control Hawthorne
Belly
also
first,
getting excited,
basically.
just like us. We're awaiting a water landing. We are going to reignite the 3 engines.
Remember, it
to perform
originally
that flip
came in
maneuver, and we're
really hot like
basically,
this, and the whole
about a
underbelly
minute and
was
a
on
half,
fire,
wow,
basically.
away from
And now
the
it's like
landing
this.
flip.
And those flaps are
The
working.
crowd's
That is
getting
good.
excited here as we get closer and closer to splashdown. Again, just about a minute away from the expected splashdown, so we should see a lot happening.
If I remember
coming
correctly,
up
the
here
last time
shortly.
too, it went from
We're
almost belly
currently having a
flat
view
to
of
almost
one of the
pointing
flaps,
down a bit,
and
and
it
then
is a little bit dark on
finally
your screen,
rectifying,
but hopefully we'll get
or
some good
righting
views
itself
of the
like
ship
this.
as it makes
So
that
we'll
flip
see if it does the
maneuver
exact
and,
same thing this time as it
touchdown
did
for
with
splashdown.
IFT4.
Yeah,
Yeah, guys, we saw that speed drop like a rock. So we're doing a belly flip right now, or a belly flop right now. That's what's kind of, if you saw the high altitude campaign, that's the unique thing about how Starship
5
comes
kilometers
back. So
altitude,
we bled off pretty much all
400
of the speed we're going to.
kilometers per
We're
hour.
essentially at terminal velocity.
Starship is at 5 kilometers altitude,
then
remains on target.
It's basically falling like a brick
Five
right
to go.
now, a
Coming
flat
up
brick.
soon. Landing burn.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. 3 kilometers. There it is. It is tipping down. So instead of perfectly flat, it's tipping
kilometers
down
away.
just a little bit.
Starship
And
is
now
on
it's
target,
back to
approaching
flat.
landing burn startup.
1
So keep an
kilometer. We're going to
eye
see it
on
start
the
angling
bottom
up
right-hand
in
side
just
of
a
your screen
second.
as well. That will be the indicator when the Raptor engines ignite.
I wish it was brighter. I wish we
are
could see
unable
better.
to see that illumination ourselves.
Landing burn startup.
There it is. Perfect. Now it just righted itself back up. It went past, and then back to, it's going to come back straight. There's the water.
Just behind the ship.
Wow. Did you see we just had a camera shot from under the water just a second?
I think it is safe to say we have a ship in the water.
Oh, man. Look at that.
That is a live
What? Oh, no. Okay, so it just blew up.
incredible end to Starship's journey. A live view from a buoy that we had out at the landing zone.
Okay, so
An incredible view.
if they had a buoy at the landing zone, it actually landed where it's
Just
supposed to
about on
land.
target as they were calling out.
So,
That was
did they
amazing.
detonate it, or did it blow up on its
We
own?
were not intending to recover any of the ship's hardware, so that was the best ending that we could have hoped for.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Man.
Hot ship and salt.
I don't
Yes.
think we're going to be able to get a ton of extra video of the heat shield, but we hit the target. We hit the target.
They hit the target. That's right.
I mean,
That's what
you
they
know
were
we
trying to
hit the
do, is hit that target.
because We had these buoys placed in a pretty specific spot, so wow. What a day. I feel like that's all.
Perfect.
That's what I get to say. What a day. I mean, everything started off today with that launch. We were able to lift off towards the end of our window, 7:25 a.m. Central Time. 33 out of 33 Raptors in the way uphill. Successful hot stage. Booster came back. We watched it come down right behind us. Watched it get caught. And that broke my brain for a while. I'm really happy we had coast for a bit, but that's first ever booster catch, major step on the way to rapid reusability, and ship just gave us one heck of a show, making it through a controlled re-entry this time, flaps intact, made it down to the water. Hey, Starships were meant to fly, and it sure as hell flew today, so.
Yeah, if
let's
the
get ready for the
FAA would
next
just
one.
get out of
Over
the
to you
way
guys.
of SpaceX and
They were
Elon
meant to
Musk,
fly,
there would be
and they
more
were
of
also
this
meant to be
happening.
caught by
More
Megazilla.
innovation, quicker,
It's
faster
been
innovation.
such an incredible day today. Congratulations to our teammates and to everyone who supported the Starship program. And thank you to all of our future customers for your support. And we'll also like to thank the people of Cameron County, Texas, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, the Government of Mexico, and the Australian Space Agency.
Now be sure to follow SpaceX on X for more updates
Well,
on
guys,
today's test flight.
that was
and of course, for future
absolutely
Starship news.
stellar.
Was amazing.
Absolutely amazing. That just was,
Soon Falcon Heavy
I mean, you
will
could
launch
not have asked for anything more. Everything that needed to happen happened. The only thing that we didn't see is what happened during that hour in orbit, right? Did they open up the bay door, right, for being able to eventually using it like the chiclet dispenser and send out Starlink satellites? Did they open that door or did they not? Did the transfer happen? Look at that landing. Look at that on the screen, guys. Are you kidding me? That is absolutely unbelievable. It is unbelievable. But yeah, so did that happen or did it not happen? But what did happen is this, and this is absolutely unbelievable. Look at that landing. I mean, you saw the fins at the top? It's like, I don't even know. Look at that. That's just, like I said, anyone, any country watching this is going to look at it and be like, you know what? We're still it. We still got it, guys. We still got it, all right? And this is all to Elon, thanks to Elon Musk. Because without him doing what he's doing, if we were to rely on SpaceX or to rely on NASA instead of SpaceX, it just simply wouldn't happen. It would not happen. So, I mean, all in all, this was absolutely amazing. Like I said, I really would like to know, did they open up the chiclet dispenser or not? Did it actually work? Did they move fuel? That's very important also. On orbit, to be able to move fuel is very important to be able to transfer fuel later on. Okay, that's going to help us getting to the moon and getting us to Mars. So this is really an amazing day. I just have to say thank you to everyone for being here. All of the new people, thank you. Subscribe if you're not. Take a look at my Starlink content. I have a playlist of about 350, something like that. 300 plus videos just on SpaceX Starlink that will help you out a lot. Setting up mesh networks, using it for this, that, or the other thing, using other alternative routers and everything else. So take a look at that when you're done watching this video. And once again, don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this, throw the video a thumbs up. Throw this live a thumbs up. That is always helpful. I want to say thank you to Shannon and Peter and all those folks that gave the super chats. Thank you so much for helping support the channel. I do this for you guys. I really enjoy it, but I do it for you guys because I want to make sure that I'm covering everything and I'm showing you what's going on and I'm giving you my commentary over it. Now, am I right about everything? No, but we try our absolute best, and I know a lot of you guys appreciate that. So I'm going to hang out for another like 10 minutes or so. Anything that you guys want to say, maybe even 15 minutes, anything, any kind of questions, anything that you have, throw them in the comments or throw it in the chat right now. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. So if you've asked a question, I missed it, put it in there right now because I missed it and it's already gone. That's just how YouTube works. It goes really quickly. Let's see. Why aren't they recovering the ship? Someone said. Well, the last time they did recover portions of the ship, but this time the ship blew up. Now, did it blow up because they wanted it to blow up? Or did it blow up on its own? I really don't know. It really doesn't make a difference. Once that ship lands in the salt water, it's pretty much done. All of the telemetry that they gather, all of that onboard telemetry, all that information is being sent through Starlink continuously. So even though they don't have the physical ship, they have the amount of data that they have to query through, to figure stuff out is just unbelievable. So they'll have a ton. They'll have a ton. Will it float? Parts of it, I don't think it will float. I think it will be gone. It will be at the bottom of the ocean, and they will be able to recover it if they want to, and I think they will. Once again, this landed in the Indian Ocean, I believe, and the same place that IFT-4 landed. The difference between IFT-4 and IFT-5, this one actually landed where they wanted it to land. And that's what he was alluding to, and that's what I said when I saw the buoy and the buoy video. I'm like, well, if you have buoy video, that means that that buoy was placed there beforehand, and they knew that this is exactly where it's going to land. So did it land within a football field, or did it land to the centimeter, like Starship's Super Heavy landed within centimeters? That's how it was able to be caught with the Mechazilla or the chopstick arms. So that's really, that's going to be very important going forward. So we'll see what ends up happening, what comes on in the news, what they talk about later on. And I'll report on that probably next week. Let's see. Lonnie says, now we need a good landing on the stick. Absolutely. Let me go down here a little bit. Total All Steve, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that. Fragile 1976, thank you for the super chat. Kevin, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed the commentary. It was a lot of fun. I love it. Pat the Main, thank you once again for the super chat. It's a blessing. It really does help the channel out a lot. I thank you guys. Once again, any kind of questions, put them in here. Put a Q before your question, or at JCristina. It makes it a lot easier for me to find. As you can hear, my voice just starts going with that cold that I had for a couple of weeks. It's just horrible, guys. Horrible. I got my tea, though. Let's see. All right. Is there any music going? I don't think there's any music. As long as there's no music, we're okay. Last time, like I said, we had some stupid elevator music going, and that was a no-go. It ended up demonetizing the entire video. The whole live was demonetized. It was just incredible. Let me see. Do we know which flight test will land on land? So I really don't know. So it's a good question, and this is from Shelton. Says, which one will end up landing on land? And I think it goes back to what I said before. If this Starship landed exactly where it was supposed to land, within centimeters, and if they finish the second landing pad, which is currently in the works right now, if they do, they might try it on IFT-6. They might try landing on land. And that would be amazing. You would have one landing pad actually would do the launch and then the recovery of like the Super Heavy. And the secondary landing pad would do the recovery of Starship. Mind-blowing. If that was the case, could you just imagine, one unit coming in here, the other craft coming in here, they land, that's just, it's insane. It is insane. Shannon, thank you for the super chat. So dig the shirt. Thank you. What does the sleeve say? The sleeve is the flag. And then on this side, let me see. Let me see here. Yes. So on this side, it says, "This is well defended." It's a GS shirt, the usual grunt style shirt. I like grunt style. I'm a fan of supporting U.S. companies. So it doesn't matter. I try as much as possible to buy U.S. stuff when possible. If I can't buy it and it's going to be Chinese, it's going to be Chinese. But for the most part, I do my best at trying to make sure that the companies are either making the product in the U.S. Or everything being made in the U.S. From the actual manufacturing to the actual items that are being the goods that are needed to create them. Being a inventor that I am, I know how hard it is to find components in the U.S. And the reason being is we're lacking manufacturing in the U.S. I don't give a shit what anyone says. You know, they might say, oh, we got all the manufacturing back, whatever. They are not back, okay? There's a lot more than there used to be, but there needs to be a lot more manufacturing happening here in the U.S., and it's just simply not. So being an inventor where I make photography and videography products, some of the components for many years I've had to source in China. I hate it. But it's the nature of the beast. Now, the majority, I would say 90% of everything I make is now from the U.S., which is small components that are just simply not here that I need. So this is what we try doing. Let's see. Let me see. Sheltoli, 1969. I like 1969. You might be my age. Thank you so much for that super chat. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for that. Let's see. PNX World says, what's up and happy to see you and your family doing okay. Did the hurricane hit you guys hard? So the hurricane hit us pretty good, but we were spared. We didn't lose power, number one. We just got hit with something very large on the roof. It knocked out 15 tile. I went on the roof, repaired the tile the very next morning, and then cleaned up. The whole family cleaned up all the debris. The thing that we had a problem with was tornadoes. There was over 20 lives lost near me in just a local store, as well as homes, where these tornadoes just ripped through and just destroyed stuff. One tornado took 3 cars in the front of my son's teacher's house, took 3 cars and then lifted them over the house and deposited them in the backyard while demolishing the house itself. That just shows the intensity, the power of these tornadoes. And we ended up getting, with this hurricane, an unprecedented number of tornadoes. They've never seen it. It was like 136 tornadoes or something from this hurricane. So we got more damage from tornadoes, I think, than the hurricane itself. It was just crazy, absolutely crazy. But yes, we're all safe. We did not lose power. Starlink worked the entire time. I left it on the roof. I said I was. I took pictures. I put it in the community chat. I said, listen, guys, I'm going to leave this thing up. I'm not taking it down. And if it gets ripped off, it is what it is, right? And we left it up. We got maximum sustained winds of about 50, 60 mile per hour with some gusts, probably about 70, 80, maybe 90. Excuse me. And it held it, no problem. So that's really, really good. Alex says, I'm from Melbourne, Australia. Do the use of Pine Gap or satellite dishes over here for communication? Yeah, so... yeah, well, I mean, in Australia, aren't you guys using Starlink? I know a lot of people have written into me, said that they have Starlink and it's working great. What are you guys using over there? What are you using? Let me see. Smash that like button. Appreciate that, Lestat. Thank you for being here. Once again, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Hang out. Throw it a thumbs up. Do all those damn things. Do all of it. Let's see. Where do you get the cool shirts? Yeah. So this shirt, I believe was at a store in Texas, I believe is where I got this. I was visiting my daughters in Texas. I'm not sure which store, but I think that's where this came from. But you can get grunt style shirts on Amazon, just about anywhere. Let me see. Lestat, yes. Mocking. That's what I do. That's what I do, right? Let's see. Moving down here. Once again, if you have any questions, put a Q before the question so it's easy for me to find. Kevin says there was a comment from SpaceX on testing multiple heat shield layers. It says, are done tiles missing on purpose? Yes. So yes, those tiles were missing on purpose, number one. And they do have this underlayment under it, is what I call it. It's basically a layer under it that will melt, but it cools as it melts. So it's like I don't know if it's a coating or what they use. I think it's a coating. So they left those tiles out so that it will melt and see what ends up happening. That's number one. They also took some of those ceramic tiles that we just heard and they wrapped them in aluminum and to see, because they know the temperature that aluminum melts, to see what ends up happening with the aluminum and how quickly that melts. So they're taking that video footage. They will analyze this. Also, those hollow spots where there is no tiles, there are thermometers, let's say. There are little units under there that measure the heat. So they know how hot the actual unit will be getting if it does not have the heat shielding on it at all. So very, very cool. Very cool. The amount, once again, the telemetry is unbelievable. They're using SpaceX Starlink, but they're also, I believe, using 2 other means of getting that data back. So, which is really, really quite amazing that they have so much redundancy going on. I did like that we saw that the fin, let's say, at the back side did not melt off. They had all of that heat, those heat tiles wrapped around it really well. We saw some sparks, but then later on we saw one of those fins melting. Only one, not the other 2, but one, we saw it starting to melt. Now, did it survive? Yes. The internal structure survived, and it did work, obviously, because they landed where they needed to land. So that was good, but we don't want to see melting shit, okay? So they need to work on those, and, maybe they need to put those ceramic tiles on them too. Maybe they need to put that, that coating on there too, whatever. So they'll be working on that. And I would say for IFT6, we're not going to see anything melting. They will definitely fix it. And we saw that the heat shielding worked really well too, because we didn't see tiles flying off or any problems with that fin. So that was really nice. Cool Water says YouTube does not need a reason, they only need an excuse to demonetize. Yes, you are 100% right. And ask them why, and you might as well, you'll get nothing. Cool Water says, can we see your inventions? Yes. So if you go to, matter of fact, while you guys are here, let me grab this. I will move this here, and then we'll see if we can get this to happen. Here we go. So let me go to, so if you go to JCristina.com, right? JCristina.com. Let me see if this will bring it over. Does it? Does it? It does. Okay, so that's good. All right, so if you go to JCristina.com and you just go to shop, okay, you'll see some of the items here, okay? So at the top, you can see Dark Moon teas. I have about 5 different Dark Moon teas, so you can go and check those out. I also created the Aurora Camera Care or Aurora Microfiber cleaning cloths. You can see here. Also, there's 3 camera sensor cleaning kits. One for full frame, one for APS-C, and one for micro 4/3. I invented those. I also invented the PRT, which is a photo reference tool. Matter of fact, I have one back here. Let me see. So it looks like this. If you bought it on Amazon or if you went to B&H Photo and Video, it looks like this. That's the back of it. And what it is, it's got a grayscale gray card on it. It also has colors for being able to dial in your color. But then on the back side, it has this dual colors on the back. It allows you to basically dial in your tint and your warmth, right? Your Kelvin. That's what this allows you to do. So you would take a picture of both sides, and then you would take a picture without it in the frame, and then you would use the frame that has that card in it. You would go into Lightroom or whatever your choice of editors are. You would use your eyedropper, and you would just drop either on the gray or on one of the colors, and you would get the perfect color every single time. It would basically dial in your green to magenta, which is your tint, and it would also dial in your blue to yellow, which would be your Kelvin, right? So that's what that does. And then finally on this side, we have the focus pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool. This right here is a pyramid structure that allows you to dial in your autofocus lens calibration. Then we have all of the merch. We have Tea Time, my shirt with Megabit on it, my 1776 shirt, all the rest of these, Time Machine photo. Down here we have the Life After Adobe, Cutting the Cord series, this Life After Adobe shirt. And if you come down a little bit further, you can see all of the tees. And then finally, there's one tee down here that doesn't have a picture of. That's the new one. That's the Dark Temptation. That is awesome. And then finally, we have my book that you guys see all the time behind me, How to Create a Digital Fort Knox, Backing Up Your Digital Life. You could take a look at that if you want to build an unraid server. And then at the very bottom, you can see we have service, which is a 1 hour consultation with me. If you want to do any kind of networking, I do a lot of consultation on people that are building out large Starlink services. I've done some for, massive estates to oil rigs, oil refineries, big businesses and whatnot, where they're building out multiple Starlinks and then connecting them all basically with other connections, with fiber and everything, into one connection. So I do the build out and the layout of that for them. So that's a 1 hour consultation with me. So that's basically some of the stuff that I've invented. I do this stuff, for many, many years. Anyways, so you wanted to know, and there you go. that is it. Let's see. Rod says, we are the same here. We try to buy Aussie, but if we can't, at least we can support countries like the U.S. There you go. Yeah, absolutely. If you're in Australia, buy Australia. Support the damn country. I think it's really, really, really good. Petrie says to John Wolf, did you just do some Kamala propaganda? It happens, and we have everyone from everyone is on here, and that's the one thing. This channel I try staying as center as possible, and really taking in the information from both sides and center, and then coming up with my conclusion, and then give you my commentary. And then after, I like to hear from you guys down below. Every video is like that, okay? So many times I will veer more to the right than to the left. But in some instances, I'm more to the left, especially like when I was talking about RFK, for example. I love what he was talking about and what he was doing. So, then he went independent. Now he's supporting Trump. Things change. Just like we see Facebook man over there, he changed. We got a lot of things that have been changing lately. So, but yeah, I try to stay as center as possible and read everything, and don't go and follow one path just rotely, right? Like a lemming. Because I think too many people do that. They just follow, everyone in their circle. They walk off that cliff with everyone else, right? I just don't do that. I've always, kind of, went to my own beaten drum. That's just the way I've always been, That's why I don't work for someone. I've always owned a business of some kind, okay? I owned a software company for 13 years. I have a hard time with authority, but I can, definitely I'm one to invent stuff and to be able to get myself to do things when it comes to work is very easy. Now, when it comes to the house, it's a different story. Fabiola will tell you. Let me see. PNX says, I want to buy some tea from you. Which one would you recommend? If you want something chocolatey, the Dark Temptation is really good. I made it as a seasonal tea, but everyone loved it, so I moved it forward. So now we have it now into the season again. I made it last year. It does really well. It has cacao in it. It has like a chocolatey type of flavor, but with no sweetness. You add the sweetness as you want. If you want something smoky, Fireside is fire. It literally is fire. A lot of people love Fireside. If you don't like smoke, Fireside's not for you. But if you like a smoky flavor, that is just unbelievable. For morning, I like Misty Morning and Focus combination. I created stormy weather during the pandemic. It takes out a lot of congestion from your chest. So stormy weather is really good if you're getting sick. And then, of course, we have Dreamscape. Dreamscape is very similar to what you would get in the store. That is that, sleepy time type of tea, but it is my blend that Dreamscape will not only put you to sleep softly, but it allows you to dream a little bit that you normally wouldn't dream. Number two out of that, and you wake up really refreshed. You're like you went on a journey kind of thing. You really let your mind just kind of let go. So Dreamscape works really well for that. So those are the teas that I've come up with. Everything is 100% organic. They're handmade, handcrafted. So sometimes they might take a week for you to get them. Depends on ingredients. Sometimes some of those ingredients are not available. And I will not buy the ingredients that are not 100% non-GMO, non-radiated, has to be organic, all of the things. If they are not, I'm not going to buy them. So all the ingredients in all those teas, those herbal blends, all those teas, they're all 100%, once again, organic, non-radiated, non-GMO, and everything else. I will not buy any of the junk if I can't. So if I can't get the ingredient, that tea will not go out. It'll be back ordered for a week. And I'm sorry, and if people want their money back, I give them their money back. I just won't do it. So anyways, I think it's important. Comment, correction, Joe had given me a correction on the temps. The plasma is at 2,600, 2,800. That would be Fahrenheit, be 26,000, 28,000 Fahrenheit, correct? Because that would be centigrade. Let's see. Says plus it's the Pez dispenser, not a chiclet dispenser. I like chiclets. But yes, it is a Pez. I like the. It is a Pez dispenser. You're 100% correct, Jim. Wow on the tornadoes, yeah, crazy. 170 tornadoes I've made. Wow, 170. Yeah. Last time I checked, it was 136 tornadoes, which is crazy. Was your Starlink a version 2 or version 3? My Starlink is a version 2 still. It's the one that has the fully actuated, the fully articulating top to it, so it can spin at will. So that's the one that I currently have. It's been working for 46, 48 months or something, a long time, without a problem. So that's good. Hossman, thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate that. It says, glad to see you made it through the storm, Jay, and were able to watch history with us today. Absolutely. This was history in the making. Like I said before, every country was watching this. It is such a big deal. And the people that didn't watch it don't realize that it's a big deal, but they will eventually. This was a milestone that was met that will take us once again to the future. It will bring us to becoming a interplanetary or a species that actually will be able to not only be able to inhabit the moon, which won't be that big of a deal. We will definitely see it in my lifetime, but we'll definitely also be able to inhabit Mars. So we'll see what ends up happening. This is really, really important. This is good stuff, really good stuff. Eric says, if it was Gen 2 router that is bricked, can it still be used as a mesh? No, as a repeater. Once you brick it, if it's truly bricked and doesn't work, you're not going to be able to use it. That's Eric's question. If it's bricked, it's bricked. That's the end of it, pretty much. You can't really do much with it after that. Was that Starlink a version 2 or version 3 that went through the storm? Yes, that's a version 2 once again. Let's see, PNX World says Starlink said that they want to hit 1 gigabyte download and upload speeds. When do you think that they'll be able to achieve that? So for SpaceX Starlink to hit a gigabit speed, especially for download. Upload might never happen, but it's possible. But for download, for them to hit the gigabit threshold, I really do believe that we're going to have to wait for Starship to be able to drop off the version 3 satellites. Right now we're using the version 2 minis. I think we're going to need the version 3s for that gigabit speed. Not that these satellites can't do the speed, but remember, it not only has to do with the speed, but the number of connections that it can do that speed for. So, if you have 10 connections, right, and they're all using a gigabit, you need 10 gigabits. If you have 100 connections, you need 100 gigabits running through that satellite. You see where I'm going with it? So I think we're going to need the bigger, larger, faster units, the Generation 3s, before we see a gigabit. But we'll see. Let's see. Flaps, not fins. Yes, Jim. Flaps, not fins. What else do we have here? Let's see. Smoked red head cover. Yes. From Lestat. Adobe many times. 3. Yes. I got rid of Adobe completely, and I have not been back to Adobe for 5 years. So it's good. It's good. Alex says, I believe that during the moon landing, Australia played a pivotal role using our satellite dish communication. They are stationed in the desert. Okay, nice. I think they also use, I think they used also, a satellite or a big one in Puerto Rico. I don't know. There was a few that they used. But yes, you're absolutely right. They use satellites all over the planet to be able to communicate with the folks on the moon. Let's see. Path Main says, it's Generation 3 router a big enough upgrade for quality of Generation 2? So if you have a Generation 2 and you want to go to Generation 3, yes. It is a good upgrade. You don't get the fully articulating top to it. So if you need to make adjustments, you need to go onto the roof and make the manual adjustments. But it does a little bit better with rain fade. It also provides a little bit faster speeds when it comes to upload speeds. It provides a lot faster speeds when it comes to download speeds. And your latency is about 1 to 2 milliseconds less with this new dish and router combination. So is it worth it? Yeah. If you can get it for $299 and you want to do it, it's not a bad thing to do. I'm probably going to wait for the Generation 4, the next one, to come out and see what they do with that, because I'm not in really that much of a rush. We have fiber that's going to be run out here soon. I will still have SpaceX Starlink as my secondary instead of primary, but I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. This is the best non-terrestrial backup for internet out there. And if an oh shit moment happens, okay, we will be able to run SpaceX Starlink on a battery and still get communication where fiber and cable and AT&T's garbage UVerse and their DSL and all the rest of stuff, that will be all down. But SpaceX Starlink will be up for the most part. So I'm definitely going to keep SpaceX Starlink no matter what for a backup. Let's see. What else do we have here? Moving down. Thank you so much for that super chat. Was thinking about, it's down there getting beat up by the hurricanes, but Fat must have been scared. Yeah, I'm giving her hugs. So, yeah. Listen, we put up shutters. I normally don't. But we did, and the reason being is because it was a Category 5, and then it went to a Category 3, and then they were talking about it landing at a Category 1 or 2. But then all of a sudden it went from the Category 3, it went back up to a 4, and I'm like, that doesn't look good, because I've been through a Cat 5, and that was Andrew at the time. And a Cat 5 is like the finger of God coming across, okay? It will tear concrete off the ground, okay? It's just unbelievable, the power of a Cat 5. The amount of water and the speed of the water, it just destroys everything. It eats everything away. You think about, you're pressure washing your roof and you accidentally hit your toe and you peel some of the skin off. Well, that's basically almost like what you're doing with these hurricanes at 200 miles per hour, 200 plus. Andrew was like that. It was over 200. When they did the data analysis on it, they thought it was only like 180, 190. They found that it was well over 200 miles per hour. So just by the destruction of it. Anyways, yes, thank you once again for that super chat. Appreciate that, LT. Let's see here. All right. So listen, guys, I know, a lot of you guys are here for this. the launch. But if you're here also for the Linux coverage that I've been doing on moving for breaking away, let's say, from Windows to Linux, or even breaking away from Windows to Mac, I don't really care. Just get away from Windows. They've been doing some really nasty stuff over there, and their new Recall and their Copilot Plus and all the rest of this stuff is doing some stuff where they are able to see everything that you do, monitor everything you do. It's just simply not good. And moving from version 10 to version 11, you're going to be stuck with it. And I just don't want to do it. So far I am without using Windows for 70 plus days now. So I'm keeping you abreast of what's going on. Tomorrow, okay, I'm going to be installing this. I'll do a video about this installation, but I'll also be doing a installation of, if you're a Mac guy, you know what Time Machine is. On Linux, it's not called Time Machine. It is, what is it called? Time, what the heck is it? Time something. Anyways, I'm going to be installing that because I want to make sure that when I install the new drivers to this, I want to make sure that if something goes south, I can back up. I can go backwards in time, so to speak, right? So I don't end up blowing out the system again and then having to reinstall it. It's called Time Shift. Sorry, my mind went blank. So Time Machine on the Mac, like on that machine back there, Time Machine. On Linux, it's Time Shift. Same exact principle. It copies everything that's in wherever you want, but for generically, it copies everything in your root, right? The actual operating system. And then what it will do is it'll make incremental backups. So if the entire operating system is, let's say, 100 gigs, let's just call it 100 gigs, then it will back up 100 gigs. And then anytime anything is changed, it will only back up those small incremental changes, which is really powerful, right? So it doesn't take up a lot of room. So I have one NVMe that has the operating system on it. I have another NVMe that has my games and my backups on it. So that's my setup right now. But I have a card that has 3 available NVMe slots. So I might put 3 more 2 terabytes in there. This one is Windows. Once again, this has not been in the machine for 70 days, but that's what it looks like. So anyways, if you guys are here for that, watch for more of that. That's going to happen. This channel is all about tech. It's all about a lot of the Starlink as well as what's going on with SpaceX and Starship. That's what this channel is all about. So if you like tech, you like Linux, you like other alternatives to the mainstream, that's really what I do here. I don't use Adobe at all because I think that they are a crap company. They're a nasty company, and they've been raping the public for many, many years, especially now that they've been doing this lease, not own option where you cannot buy it anymore. You have to pay in perpetuity for it. I don't want to pay them forever to use Photoshop. I just don't want to do it. So there's alternatives, and I've taken you guys on that journey with me using alternatives. So anyways, let me get back over to here, see if there's any more. Thank you for the super chat. That's from Mark. I appreciate that. It says, are you a follower of Tony Zebra or Rethink X? No, my investment is because my investment is because of them. Really? Okay. That's interesting. I will go and look them up. And matter of fact, I will copy paste that and check them out. I appreciate that, Mark. I'll go and see how they are. Alex says, thank you. I closed the window and and cut the Adobe cord. That is really, really nice. 30 days with Fedora 40. That's awesome. Darktable. That's the replacement for Lightroom, if you guys don't know. That's what Alex is currently using. That works out great. I used Darktable not too long ago for doing some editing of some headshots. And Darktable works really, really well. There's other options too. PNX World says, I too have a Starlink Generation 3 router. I need more ports for my PC and consoles. What do you recommend for a switch? So buy a managed switch. Matter of fact, in my SpaceX Starlink coverage, my 300 plus videos, you will see a video just on, I believe, on routers, on mesh networks, and also on switches. For you, I would say get a managed switch so that you can do QoC and quality of control type of stuff. It just works out really nice. You can say, okay, this portion gets X amount of bandwidth, this gets X, this gets nothing, or whatever, right? This side, this port over here is going to have a VPN on it. This side is not going to have a VPN, whatever. So you can do like some pretty cool stuff. So get a managed switch. They'll add more ports for you, but then also give you the managing that I think is really important. PNX says, when is the next Life After Windows video? That will probably be on Monday. Tuesday the latest, so hang in for that. Pika backup, yes. Pika backup, time shift. That's from Alex, yes. Lestat says you're talking in a foreign language. I hear you. I know. I'm a geek. So Path the Main says, do you have an X account? Yes, I have an X account. It is JCristina, just my name. I actually set up my X account, my Twitter account, the exact same month and year as Elon Musk, which is really funny. I was looking at mine. So I have my Twitter account since June of 2009. June 2009. And I have about, 18, 20,000 followers on there. So yeah, definitely follow me over there on Twitter, or on X now. Let's see. I bought some drives for my NAS, but haven't picked up a housing for them yet. Any suggestions? See my book over here? Go to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. All right. Go there and download a free download called this one right here, How to Create a Digital Fort Knox, Backing Up Your Digital Life. It's the prologue. It'll tell you about what I did in this book. And it worked out really good for me and why I did it. Okay. It's a RAID array, but it's not. It's an unRAID array. And I talked to you guys about why that is so important and why it works out so well. Anyways, check out my book. Let me see. One more question, two more questions, and I am out of here. I'm going to go and probably work on my bathroom, guys. Anyone that knows me, that's been here since the beginning and listened to me on the JC Live show, Fabiola wants me to work on this bathroom, and today I will be working on it. Let's see. Bezos. Yeah, Bezos is crying right now. Pretty much. Bezos with his nonsense Project Kuiper. He doesn't have a single satellite on orbit, so he's got nothing. And his, Blue Origin space company is just, it's okay. It's mediocre at best. It still hasn't put a single one of his satellites in orbit. Jeff Bezos over there had to use ULA to put his 2 beta testing satellites up there to even test that Project Kuiper would even work. And then they destroyed those satellites, and now they have 0 satellites in orbit. I don't know. He was originally going to be able to provide a Project Kuiper by the end of this year. He won't be able to provide it by the end of next year. That's my personal opinion, unless they employ Starlink. Supplier, which would be SpaceX with their Falcon 9, to deliver all those satellites into orbit over the course of next year. But they're not going to do that. He's got this massive chip on his shoulder that he can't shrug off, Jeff Bezos over there, so it's just not going to happen. Then that's just the way it is. I would like to see competition. This competition is good, but it's not going to be from him. I think the Chinese will give more competition to Elon in the next year or two than Jeff Bezos. Let's see. Use time shift, absolutely. So anyways, guys, listen, hang out with me on Monday. I appreciate just each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so much. This was once again a monumental day. This was just unbelievable. This was the equivalent to, I would say, not quite landing on the moon, but basically the basis of landing on the moon. This is what's going to allow us to be able to travel to Mars. This is what's going to allow us to be able to travel to the moon and occupy. As you see, Elon always have his shirt on, says occupy Mars. We will be able to get to Mars now that we see that this is this good. It is working out great. There's probably going to be 1 or 2 more IFTs before he sends one to the moon to land. So I would say IFT 6. They'll probably do some more with possible landing on a secondary pad. But guys, if they land Starship and Super Heavy on a pad without burning anything out, without blowing anything up, I mean, we are this much closer to the moon and the Artemis mission, right? 2026, I believe. So anyways, we'll see what ends up happening. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all the super chats. My voice is gone. Thank you for everything that you guys do. And we'll see you once again on Monday. Take care, guys. Thanks a lot.